First up, we have the Honorable Charlie. Charlie Kinnicky and the Public Safety.
First thing I would like to ask the committee is to add 2 more seats to the committee and to appoint George Sombrowski, who was on the original committee, and William Kalita, who's retired as the fire chief. He's been a good asset on the committee. I'd like to keep him in the committee, keep him involved in this, and it'll give us a bigger quorum.
Do we have a motion for that?
No, I'd like to get letters from them. We should have letters in file. That's our procedure.
Both individuals have said to me that they'd like to be on.
I know, what I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with it, just because...
Well, I'd entertain a motion to accept pending letters of request. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion pending the letter of request to be appointed to the committee.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Easy squeezy.
Now the adventure. Well,
Charlie, just to let you know, you got about 15 minutes.
All right,
Okay.
I'll talk fast.
Okay.
Basically, what it comes down to is the town voted to take and survey and evaluate the land next to the fire station and the town hall for suitability for a public safety complex. One of the issues was the fact of getting a clean deed, so I'm going to talk to that for a second. All the studies relative to this land came back with, and this is all preliminary, but there's about 10 different deeds on this site. They overlap. Some do not exist, transferring it to the town. And they go from dates like 1866, 1845, 1903, 1954. There's a county road. Evidently, this street used to be a Y, and we're standing in the middle of that Y according to some of the records, but we're not sure where that went. Subtotal, we need a clean deed here. What seems to be, is going to be recommended by the engineering firm down the road is going to be go to town council, get an article drafted that basically says the town's taking this land, even though we're using it, so on and so forth, so we end up with a clean deed. The exterior of all this land is being surveyed out, pinned and marked, so we will have a deed with a description that's accurate to what's here. And I'll be back with that information with the committee when it becomes available. The contractor's got till September 5th to put this together, but seeing we're meeting, I felt we'd like a little update of where we're at. Any questions on that side of the fence?
Parkland.
Parkland. I have exhausted everything we can between the surveyors and myself. The records of this building, there's a comment made that says that they believe the land over there was parkland. There is no deeds that say that. There is a deed for that parcel that shows that the Conant family gave it to the town for the consideration of less than $100 back in '54. We had the town clerk go through all the records, and they could not find anything in the town meetings indicating anything about a park or anything relative to the parcel. I don't know. How much time do you want me to spend on it, I guess, is the reality.
When are you going to retire?
Well, let's back up a minute to that. It was never called parkland. Some other people might have put parkland. It was for recreational use. It was purchased for the Larrabee School.
Purchased?
No, purchased, well, it just said $100 here. But the point is, I was always on, in the research that I did, that there was a lot of misnomers out there because the school needed that recreational land. They got a grant to pay for it. All right? Now, it didn't bother us when we built this building and that because it was still out of the realm, and our own digging up there showed that we wouldn't ever use it. So as far as researching it I still believe that if it was ever considered parkland, it was paid for by the state in any shape or form for the school department, there's a certain set of rules that govern parks and playgrounds, that once it goes into that connotation of playground or parkland, if we need to take it out, it has to go before the House and the Senate on a whole new petition to get it out of that. Now, we've done that when the library was built. We did that when we were going to be doing work on East Street. You have, it's 99.9% of the time it's formality, but there is, I didn't have any involvement with it directly, but people like Barbara Schmidt and John Garska did inform me about stuff like that in the past, that this had a special connotation that was adopted for this building. If there's more information out there than that, people can come forward and please help us out. But I agree with you. I haven't seen anything. I just hear stories that that's what it is. Now, that being true, if we go in there and ignore that and do something up there, and we don't do our due diligence, I mean, I know you did your due diligence, but that doesn't mean it's done and completed. There's a question mark out there on that parcel, in my mind. But as far as what you did, I think it was good for the town. There's 7 parcels out there, you say? And
7 to 10. I'm
7
still
to
waiting
10
for the report
parcels.
to come.
And what you're saying is, let's get them all as one, under one. Is there, how many different ownerships out there of town agencies? Is it the residents of the town of Southampton, or is it like the fire department, or is it like the
There's nothing to say,
conservation?
it all says the residents of town. Even that deed says the residents of the town.
Okay. Well, my feeling is, I'd love, once and for all, get it all as one parcel, like it should be.
Well, this is where I was going to say, Charlie's done a wonderful job, and this probably needs the attention of a real estate attorney to track down these deeds and interpret them.
Well, one of my motions was going to be that once he gets all these deeds together, we get them to Copeland and Page, who has a real estate expert, who might be able to go back further and verify, maybe some way of verifying that in the state end, that there's no strings attached to it. That's all.
This needs a title.
To clean up the titles.
This needs a title search on all the parcels. But, it's not my bailiwick, so.
No, that's not mine either. What I was trying to do is put everything in the same.
And there would be, they may all be one parcel already, because there is a principle that once they come into common ownership, the lines disappear, and they may already be, as a rule of law.
And we need to get that verified for our own purposes.
Right. I mean, that's.
But the other thing too is, there are, on town land throughout town, there's various intents on what they're used for. Like, a lot of the land around the well is only for water protection. Other ones are for conservation use and protection. Other ones are for multiple use.
But and I don't disagree, but usually I would think the deed, or there's some act, which is the parcel in question, doesn't have anything on it. Nothing.
The deed basically says, I'm giving you this land, mostly it appears to be as a gift.
Right. For under $100, even in 1954 was a cheap price.
Yeah, so.
Well, part of it, the lawyers can say, hey, there's nothing we can find here, and we're assuming, but we need to go through the legality of it, and I wouldn't just do it without, legal representation on the whole thing.
I mean, when it comes down, if we're going to put this on the annual next year to consolidate it, that could be a side project of what you're doing, is that we should, at some point, have a real estate attorney to look at it. That's something to look at in the next few months. But I think there were some other issues you wanted to speak about.
Oh, I do. I just wanted you to know that the survey is being completed. We're going to have a list of the deeds of what we found. That'll give you the package to be able to move this further for town meeting. That's where it's going. Eventually, we're going to end up with that's all town meeting.
Yeah. So what were the other issues that you...
The other issues were wetland delineation and soil evaluation for septic system. For it, I got to be very blunt, we did all the soil work today. I also hold a soil license. We do not see any soils here that will support an on-lot septic system for that building.
Did I hear you right? We do not?
Yeah,
We do
he said
not.
do not.
Do not.
What's over there now?
Basically, what you have is heavy clays here for a great pottery shop.
For a septic system.
For the,
It was not my charter to investigate the septic systems of the town.
Sorry, I just, what's there now?
don't answer the question.
All right, so I rescind that question. Go ahead, Mr. Kinnicky, I apologize. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Never mind.
You have heavy clays in here suitable for pottery. Okay? So if you want to make a pottery shop out of the fire station someday, you have a potential.
Okay.
You have ledge outcropping up in here. And what you need is 4 feet of naturally occurring soils to be able to absorb the effluent from a septic system. You don't have it. You're either dealing with ledge outcroppings or you're dealing with clays. We did holes, and you can see them because they were just done today, everywhere we could possibly think of. The only place we didn't do was the far corner because it's considered wetlands over in that area. We didn't want to get into that. We can't get down into the Miles property because there's a brook that transverses across it, and we have to stay 100 to 200 feet away from that, so that pretty much mooted the point. And because you have a sheet of water coming across here and leaching out, we know we're not going to have passing soils. Bottom line, this is not, and I've still got to meet with my committee and discuss this, but based on what we're seeing, this is not going to be a suitable site for a public safety complex. Which opens the question. The other primary site that we looked at was by the landfill on Moose Brook Road, and the other option was to go to the highway garage and look at that as the public safety complex site. This becomes a political issue at this point. I think the Board of Selectmen need to give direction to my committee as to where they want to go with this. I'm not looking for an answer tonight.
But Charlie, we did, when I was, we were involved in the committee this past spring, we sort of, didn't we sort of rate the different sites? And so those sites were already been rated.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at the highway, and we looked at Moose Brook, and I forget which one came on top. Moose Brook
came on top because, one, you're not relocating the highway department. Two, it's basically a clean site. Even though it's next to the landfill, it has nothing there but Ed doing composting operations. It's all sand and gravels with heavy pine trees, relatively easy to work for construction. It's got town water going right by it. On-lot septic's not an issue. The neighbor to the south is the golf course. The neighbor to the east is the landfill operation. So the intrusion in the neighborhood would basically be a few houses down the street.
But there's also that narrow bridge that does...
The bridge is a problem. The other thing is the perception of the fact that it's not in the center of town, but part of the research we did with other new public safety complexes, rarely are they in the center of towns anymore.
My recommendation, and I'm just one member of the board, would be to sort of, if you come to the conclusion that this will not hold a septic system, then it's done. The other work with the deeds and stuff, I would appreciate if you could complete that. But I think your committee should then, refocus on the Moose Brook. I mean, that would be my opinion. And that was how it was ranked.
Question. We have a septic system here, it's down in front.
You can't handle it.
Couldn't take
I
anyone.
already had this conversation with Charlie.
And I danced around that for some time, and they
That's the
increased the
question.
volumes of that. Plus, don't forget, if we build a proper public safety complex, we're also going to want laundry for turnout gear for washing, which is going to increase the flows in that. You're also looking at a quasi-kitchen situation based on the 24-hour inhabitants.
You need washing bays.
It's just...
So why don't you just take a look at Moose Brook? Why don't you guys start focusing on...
Because, first of all, you got to appreciate you've given this committee quite the project to first do all these deeds and everything else. But the second thing is, I want to make sure as the committee that the political of the senior people in town is, go look at Moose Brook.
Well, what's the purvey of the committee?
I have a question first.
Yes.
So if you can't put a septic system there, what's the purpose of making that all one parcel?
It doesn't make any sense.
So,
Why spend the money?
right, why spend the money to make that all one parcel if you can't put a septic system on it anyway?
Well, I think for this building and for the fire station that's currently over there, I think it would, for later generations, make it a lot easier, because Charlie's put some effort into it. You've gotten to a point to take that documentation, give it to a realtor attorney, and finalize the whole delineation of the property. It's a side issue now. And then put it on the annual in the spring, and then get it done, and there's no question about it. This is what this parcel is.
Wouldn't it be better to do that when we had money to pay for that?
We already paid for that money to do that.
We're already sort of halfway through that.
We already paid, we had money.
Survey work, we were told, all that's paid for.
But why spend that?
Why spend money on the attorney?
Anything else?
Well, at least have the documentation in one spot when we do have the money. I don't know what the cost
But what's
would
the
be.
purpose of it? We're never gonna use the land for
After
anything.
you're gone, I'm gone, and he's gone, someone's case, isn't that supposed to be for a park? I mean, just for once, get an answer.
Well, currently, I mean, he's already defined the borders, which we had a problem with before, am I right? All the borders are defined. They all are within ownership of the inhabitants of the town of Southampton. And Mike, with his infinite wisdom, says when they're all common owned, a lot of these lines disappear. So with that assumption, yes, probably it's a good idea that if we do have some extra money in the future, this might be a good thing to do it. But if we don't have it today, hold on. I agree with you. If this is not going to be the site, if it's going to be...
It's not the site. It's not the site.
So it's not going to be the site, given the soil conditions.
So let's,
Is there another parcel, and don't crucify me, but is there another parcel anywhere near here that's privately owned that we could look at that would suit our needs?
I think that might not be, we did look at, I was on the board with Charlie and Mr. Barkman, and I don't know if we want to start talking about the different sites that we did look at. I think we...
No, but the question is not this particular site, but are there any sites that we would consider within this?
Well, I mean, we've always had this site, but there's one commercial lot up for sale right now on Route 10, which is Buckwheats. But that currently, let me finish, currently has a tight tank. But adjacent to that, the town owns 3 or 4 acres on the side of their frontage because of the tire dump.
The tire dump.
And I don't know, that soil I think is pretty close to being the same. I've never...
What, close to being the same? Not being...
Well, I'm not sure if I could say that without a doubt that it's not perkable, but from what my observations are, it's wet and it's of the same type of soils.
Mr. Fletcher's in here just about every month. Can we get the sways?
Right, well, he's
swales,
looking for us to
whatever.
release that.
Well, he wants the swales opened up because it floods in there and whatnot.
Well, he wants the 5 acres back.
Yeah. But I think right now, this conversation we're having now is the conversation the committee did have in its initial course, 4 months ago, and I think it would be sort of kind of confusing to go back through that. I think going down the list of the recommendations that we received, and it's a pretty significant document.
I'm just asking.
No, Mike's thing was, you identified town-owned properties, and you have looked at some privately owned properties.
Yes.
But
I'm not
are
advocating.
you weighing, there are some pretty good private-owned properties that the site development costs are going to be a lot less than trying to develop this. But the landfill development costs are not going to be as extensive as developing this site over here.
No, other than, and again, it's the political issue of putting the fire station outside of the center of town or outside of Route 10.
But it's still, we did look
More
at...
perception than it is reality.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm asking the question for the sake of asking the question to make sure we get an answer.
Where was the one that was off to the side? We went for the pierogies afterwards. What town was that?
Well, Summerlin is not in the center of town, Hadley's not in the center.
Hadley's not in the center of town. It's the middle of a field behind a neighborhood.
And I'm not saying, I'm asking the question for the sake of asking the question, so that people know we looked and got an answer.
We did a 1.5 year, 2-year study.
But
I'm saying this to say it.
we're on the camera now.
Yeah, we did a 2-year study, and the first thing we looked at was town-owned properties. The second thing we looked at was properties we could purchase that would be conducive to this. There are some, but we reached the conclusion that with the town strapped for money the way it's strapped for money, that we weren't in a position to start buying land to speculate on this. So what we were trying to do was this site priority 1 because it's perceived to be the center of town. The other site, the landfill, was basically because of the fact that we owned it. It's undisturbed land and it's easily workable. The other land sites, they were purchasable. You had to purchase them, and that would mean dropping $500,000 up front just to grab the land. And then you get into, If they didn't want to sell it, you have to take the land, which means you go into eminent domain, which means they can contest it for a few years. And we're also looking at the fact of housing our paramedics and firemen and stuff in the next few years as they become more and more 24/7 operation.
Mr. Bond?
I have a question. What's the projection on bringing the sewer through the center of town?
I have no idea. You know, many people have talked
It's
about,
going to be mandated, I would think.
What, no, it's not going to be mandated. I can tell you right now, that's what people thought before, but it's not.
Tried. I know you
It's
tried.
not going to be mandated.
Well,
It's not going to be, they might have a consent order that you go and get one established and you pay for it.
well, I'm just saying that.
Mr. Kinnicky.
Some 25 to 30 years ago, I was on the committee to look at bringing the sewer into the center of Southampton.
You almost got killed, Charlie.
I'm standing by.
Well, I was always convinced, you know, that if when the bike trail goes through, that's the spine for the town. Everything drains down to that, and you go to Easthampton, they have capacity. But that's not happening anytime soon.
Have you spoken to the other Charlie about this?
Yeah. He's here. That's the other Charlie.
No, but I think we're going to get back on track here.
But I would like to move it forward, and I would ask, and I would take the chairman's prerogative on this, is that you go to the next site that's on the list, which is Moose Brook, and you focus your energies on that, and that would be my request.
That's a request, but I'm going to throw another monkey wrench into it. Eventually, the highway department's going to have to be rebuilt. All right? I think we should be looking at both sites. Conducively, I think the highway side would be more conducive for the fire and police to get in and out. But eventually, you're going to have to do something with the highway department. I'm saying that, when I say you, I don't mean you, Charlie, I mean the town.
So you have the $20 million check for this? 20 million?
Yeah, but you know, you don't base it on one-year projections because you don't have money. You look down the road, Dave, 5 and 10, 15 years on what you should be doing.
But
Okay?
we're trying to do...
And what I'm saying is that eventually, you know, the highway department, some of those bays had horses before they had trucks. And I want people to realize that. It's not my bailiwick to see it change right now, but it's going to be changed because we're in violation. We don't have a place to wash trucks. We don't have proper facilities for the men. We don't have washrooms to speak of. There's a lot of things we don't have we're supposed to have. But eventually, you're going to be spending money on a facility. I think you got to be looking at the overall pictures before you make a decision on what site.
Well, right now, we have more money in equipment than building. And if that building, if that front wall goes down over there, you're gonna lose more equipment. And I think that's a priority.
I'm just saying,
and it has been a
before you move
priority.
something there, and you all of a sudden, you need to widen the bridge for $2.5 million because you need the access, the trucks can't go over it.
Well,
let
trucks
the
go
cars
over
and the other
that.
stuff.
Can't we make one big thing for everything?
In the highway
Why can't we
department.
put the highway
No, we don't have
department?
that much room in the highway department for that.
How big is that? What is that?
Maybe about 3.5 to 4 acres.
And how much land do you need to make it?
I think the police department, if you want to look down the road, they might, and the fire department might need, you should be looking at what they're going to need in 20 years, not in the next 2
That's
years.
this committee that
know,
Charlie and I were on,
I
already
understand.
looked at all that, and that document is there.
Well, let's see the document again.
You have it. There's
No, I don't have it.
It's in the office, it's on the, it's
No, I think we should look at the document again. If
But I-
you're asking for us to make a decision on
I'm not
something,
asking for you to make a
we should
decision.
look at all the parameters before you start spending
We
money.
gave that decision to the committee, and the committee made a recommendation. This is number one, it's failed. Then, they made it, we took it when Mike was chair, this was the recommendation, 1, 2, 3. One failed.
Right, Dave, I agree with you, but this was a proposal on your plan. This was part of an option. Am I right, Charlie, or not? Of looking at the highway department site.
It's number 3 because of the cost.
I'm just saying, it's on your option.
Just because the committees make recommendations and do the research and everything else, you are the town fathers and have to make a decision of what direction the town goes in. I'm giving you the update of this information, Ed, I don't disagree with you about the highway department at all. I believe personally that it would be better to have the highway department at the recycling landfill center, or whatever you want to call that place. But I also realize that we have a situation where our fire department and our police department need to be upgraded ASAP. And that's one of the reasons
Oh, I don't
I'm seeing
disagree
all
with
the
you.
extra
I don't
time.
disagree with you. But if you're gonna spend several $1 million, you should be looking at the whole picture rather than the immediate picture. That's all I have to say.
Going along that line, and I haven't decided yet, but did we look at how much it would cost, for instance, to take the highway department area and make that public safety? And we haven't got any kind of rough ballpark.
We never crunched that. The next step would be basically to hire an architectural engineering firm to do preliminaries. And you could do this and do preliminaries of both sites. And because both sites have town water, can pass perk, all the rest of that, they're both buildable. So maybe what we're aiming at, and I'm really speaking out of turn here because I really need to talk to the committee about this, but maybe what you need to do is look at town meeting and basically get some funding to have both sites studied, and then that'll give you a dollar amount of an estimate.
And then you could move the highway department to near the landfill, and then they would be near each other.
You
And then
could,
put the
or-
public safety complex over where,
The highway department.
But what, see, the problem is when you're gonna move the public safety complex or put it into the highway department, you have the inherent cost of moving the highway department. So you're actually building two facilities for one.
okay,
You get
That's-
only one.
okay.
And going in front of town meeting and saying, you know, that would be like asking to build a junior high school and the high school at the same time.
You know, if I may add, I served in that station for almost 30 years. And two things are gonna happen to that. It's either gonna burn up or fall down. I've said it before. These guys, I guess they're sitting in the back of us.
Somebody watching.
You know, they're serving in a building and they're becoming full-time. They'll be a full-time department before long. And it's not right to ask them to stay in that building the way it is. You've got multi-million dollars worth of equipment in that building, and you lose it. You'd have to replace the building, you have to replace the equipment. So if you build, and I'm sorry, Ed,
I don't care one way or the other. I believe it.
I'm gonna say it, okay? If you move the highway to Moose Grove, all right? You're not gonna be able to even ask the people to build a public safety complex. I'm serious. You know, and I know you guys are in bad shape. That building over there is in worse shape. It's either gonna fall down or burn up, one or the other. The wiring in there was atrocious 30 years ago. It still is. So.
Given that, I think that we should move forward with the Moose Brook property.
Are you convinced, Michael?
I hate to admit, but I'm not. I think we're looking, and I'm not disagreeing with what anybody's saying in here, but we're looking down the road 30 years and the question becomes,
We don't need a decision tonight.
no, but I think we're trying to resolve some,
I think we should have a decision tonight. 'cause we
we're
need
trying to
move
resolve some
forward.
ambiguity. You know, I'm troubled by the fact that all our facilities are old. And sooner or later, we're going to have, whether we fund a public safety this year and highway 5 years from now or whatever, I have trouble picturing the police and fire out on Moose Brook, and maybe that's my New England upbringing, but I have trouble picturing them out there, especially with that bridge going in the other direction. An emergency call comes in and, you know, we're not on Route 10 immediately. We've got a stretch of less than Great Road to traverse to get to 10 before we can get someplace quickly. Or the other alternative is Strong Road.
Well, there's a real great climb up to Strong Road.
Right. You know, where from here, which seemed to be the ideal situation, we go north or south or east in a matter of seconds. And I know these guys are working in terrible conditions, but for the most part, all the town employees are working other than people in this building.
We haven't even talked about the old town hall yet.
No, I mean, we've still got
if you go and you stand in that building, when all the vehicles go out, you're gonna choke.
Yeah, no,
Because the exhaust fumes in there are terrible.
no, and I have no doubt about that at all. There's clearly a need. The question is, how do we handle all the needs as quickly and efficiently, and maybe quickly is the wrong word, but as efficiently as we can. You know, and knowing that the highway is a hazard into itself, do we really just bite the bullet now? And I understand the trouble getting it by town meeting, but construction costs are as low as they're ever going to be, borrowing costs are as low as they're ever going to be. Do we just bite the bullet now and do it?
If I may, Mike, all I'm asking is look at the feasibility of it.
Well,
That's what we should be
you know,
looking at.
that's what I'm kind of ending at. Look at whether it's possible or not, and if it's not, then we drop it off the map.
But I mean, the highway department has a wide road in front of it, and it's got a wide road it's going to, which is Route 10.
Yeah, well, it's
Moose Brook has a narrower road with a narrow bridge going to a narrower street on Strong, and then coming out to 10.
But you still put all those big trucks over there too. I mean, you're still talking heavy equipment, sanders, and everything coming out of there across that small bridge, and they're
Yeah,
just...
but we don't have to get to a particular point in 2 minutes. It's 3 minutes.
And I'm just assuming that the highway department could get along without a luxury building. We simply need a metal building to house our equipment and to do whatever else you do. But we don't need a fancy...
All I'm saying is you should look at the feasibility of it.
Because I'm just saying, when we're talking about
The
moving...
numbers will dictate what we're going to do.
Right, moving your facility doesn't mean building another Shangri-La. It's putting up a...
Well, I don't consider it Shangri-La.
putting up a fairly simple steel building.
I mean, yeah.
Isn't that what you would anticipate?
No jacuzzi this time?
Once you do this thing, DEP gets involved, they want truck washing facilities.
Yeah, well, I'm saying the internal part is...
I mean, the facility serves the town well where it is. I'm just looking at, that's one of 2 sites that should be looked at. Will it serve the police and fire better down the road, or should it be exactly what they're anticipating to go moving the police and fire to Moose Brook? But for us to make a decision without some concrete avenue, what the flows are going to be like for traffic, what kind of improvements we're going to need, what the projections are for the cost for this building and that building and this site versus the other site. Here's the other thing too, is Moose Brook. One advantage for having the police up there is 24/7, so you wouldn't have to deal with a facility locked up way in the woods, and you wouldn't have the vandalism issue or the possibility of someone breaking in and destroying stuff.
Dispatch would be...
Dispatch and police would be there 24/7,
Right.
so that fear is not the same if you put that up there.
All right, what do you want to do, Chad?
The committee's charter originally was to look at a fire safety type complex. Your discussion seems to be that you want some type of data relative to what it would cost to establish a state-of-the-art, hot tub not included, highway operation at the landfill. If Mr. Cawley is willing to join forces with me and maybe somebody else, we could take and find out what's out there and what it costs.
But I think, my concern is that now it's what will end up happening, and I think it's important to look at these points. But it's also important to stay on track. I think if you start going down all these other routes, because you just can't, I mean, look how long it took us to do the workup, the first committee for the public safety complex. How many places did we go? How many hours did we work?
We were meeting twice a week, on Saturdays, going on tours. In fact, we were here more than I think the Board of Selectmen.
So, I mean,
That was a year and a half of just doing that.
to redo that, because I would assume you would want the same sort of, endeavor to look at a highway place. So now you're talking about really looking at replacing a highway department building, and it's not something you just shoot from the hip. You really have to have some concrete numbers. We got concrete numbers from all the towns we went to for costs. Granby, by the way, was getting $1 million a year from their landfill, which the state never actually mentioned to us, and they always compared us to Granby when they're doing our finances.
Yes.
So they just held off some money and paid for cash. But I mean, you would have to invest all that time to then come up with some concept of what you're going to do for a new highway garage. So whatever we're talking about today about the Public Safety Committee, you just set aside, because it's not going to...
That's right, it would be put aside.
Because then it gets, the message from the town elders and whatever, it gets diluted. What are they talking about? They need a highway garage? We got a highway garage. What are we talking about? We want a public safety, so the message gets diluted out there as well. And then when you go to town meeting, it's not as clear as that this is what we really need. The charge should be to protect the equipment we have, and the facility that the former chief, fire chief is telling us, is inadequate and puts that equipment at risk today. And in the best world, in the perfect world, it'd be great to have the fire department right where it is with the police department and have that there, but it's not. And sometimes you just have to make the best second decision. And I don't want to delay this any longer. But, I mean, I'd leave it to the board, what you want to give a message to this committee, and I would entertain a motion such that, if you guys want to make a motion to look into developing a new highway garage, it's going to take some time, but if that's what you want to do, then that's the purview of this board. My message as chair, and having been on this board in the amount of time I'm going into this, up to this point, you're putting this project on hold.
I disagree with that. All we're asking for, or I think you should ask for, you have two sites. Two sites have already been predicted and brought forward by this committee. One of them was the highway department, and one of them was the landfill outside of the current facility that had been ruled out. They did do work on that.
That was it.
All right.
But we didn't come up with a cost, Ed.
But the point is, he's looking for a site. Nobody's telling him he's stopping. He still have to make a recommendation on which is the best site. If Moose Brook, his committee says Moose Brook's the best site, fine. If the committee looks at the highway department and says that's the best site, fine. They need to evaluate.
We already did that.
Well,
that was already done.
Then give us what it says.
It's already a report. The report's already done.
Let's have a report so we can look at it intelligently. 'Cause I don't have the report, nor did I ever receive the report.
Well, I can't help.
I'm sorry, but I don't have
what
the
you
report.
didn't get. I know it was made a matter of record to all the selectmen, and it was done electronically as well. But I will say this, again, I'm not looking for a decision tonight. I was stunned to find out we didn't have the soils to support what we wanted to do, but we did our due diligence here to try to make it work. But you're meeting tonight, we were meeting tonight, this is a good time to just simply give you this information. If you want to take a week or two and just sort of go back and go back with it, that's fine with me. I mean, the committee's not going to be meeting until, what, probably the middle of September at this point.
Well, we should wait until we get direction from the board.
So, but the soil and whatnot at Moose Brook and at the highway garage, all the past Title V, right, Charlie? Second Charlie. Charlie 2.
Charlie 1 does dirt, Charlie 2 does water.
Charlie.
We haven't done anything, reviewed any.
There's nothing there, Charlie.
Yeah, nothing jumps out at me right now.
It's all type 1, type 2 soil, all gravel cobbles.
Yeah.
Water table at the landfill is at least 40 feet down.
And the deeds are all set. Now, obviously, the deeds are square.
Well, the best part about the deed at the landfill was I was on the committee that blocked that piece of property with Ed.
Okay, so there's no problem with that. So, I mean, I just want to give you some direction. I don't want to hold it up.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I want to see more of the information before I say yes or no. Because I agree that there's two sites, and we know there's two sites. They're not going to act on anything until September, which you're saying right now.
Right, we're going to
So,
wait for the report.
for us to run without looking at what's already been presented to
It's
this board.
already, because you haven't read it, doesn't mean they haven't read it.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but
Jackie, have you seen it and read it? No. Mike?
I know.
The last time you looked at it?
Well, that's
Okay. For us, for five of us to make a educated guess, we need to at least look at what the prior report said to the second and third site.
And after we do that, couldn't we just change their charter to ask them to look, just to give a quick look at the highway, and maybe this is a black and white, that you look at it for 5 minutes and you say,
That's fine.
that, it's off the table, that doesn't work.
They did that, we did that.
You looked at transferring the highway?
We did that, I'm trying to tell you that, guys, we looked at all that.
Well, let's
get
look
a
at the report and see what the report
You
says.
know, it's, the
John
cost was...
Furman did, as a professional engineer, he did an awful lot of work on this report. And
I just don't want to...
I want to refresh my mind on what's in it. I
Read
think
it,
the
but
board should read
I
it.
do not want to downplay the amount of work that went into that report. It's a written.
Nobody's downplaying it, Dave, but people are asking to refresh themselves to make an educated guess on this, not just wing it out
You don't
tonight.
have to get upset, Eddie, you just have to
Not
read it.
upset. But I'm not upset, Dave, but you want to move 100% now without
I
research.
want to go down the list that was
I'll
already
make a motion that
established.
we consider this for the next, we have a meeting in 2 weeks, or, no, not the
I think we got
third.
one next week, don't we?
September 10th is our next meeting.
That we,
September 10th would be time for the reports from the survey crew should be done.
and how about coming in?
While we do that.
Why don't we ask that Reggie put you on the agenda on September 10th, and
Sure, we'll do that.
Go from there.
And hopefully we'll give you a copy of the
I say we'll
report.
have, ask her to send out the,
Can you,
again.
can you get copies of the reports? Do you have them on email?
I have the all files electronically.
I think it's come out in the email somewhere.
I know they've been sent, but I will tell you this, I think the PDFs are too large.
Yeah, they were too large, that's why I had to burn them.
To handle that. And I don't want to toast your nice little,
That's-
All right, any other comments, questions regarding the Public Safety Committee?
yeah, I got on this committee to do a fire. That's what I start, now you got me doing deed researches, you know, dancing with the Conservation Commission.
It's broadening your horizon.
Is that what I'm getting educated, is that what you're telling me?
And you do it so well, Charlie.
Thank you.
I want to just thank you guys, it was a strong work, thank you, appreciate it.
It's needed. I don't disagree with Ed, I don't disagree with you. We need all this, it's really gonna be coming down to, we need to set priorities, as Mike says, one way or
I just
another,
don't-
we
I
need
just-
to be able to go.
I just don't want to lose it in the noise.
That's right, and that's the danger that happens in town politics.
Right. Staying on.
Questions?
Well, yeah, wait a minute, you had another thing, requesting to increase committee from 9 members to 11?
We already covered
We voted on
that.
that.
So we voted to do that, but we'll
Walked
just,
in at 6:30, how did I miss this?
Well, that
it
took a
wasn't
long
6:30.
debate.
Yeah.
You were setting up your iPod.
Oh,
And disregard the other voting. Mike.
thank you, I didn't raise my hand? Or did I raise my hand?
I have no clue.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, moving right along. Mr. Church, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Front and center, please. Let's set this up. I didn't realize this was not set up. We had it set up before with a mic and a table so that you could sit down. Let me just, I don't know, does this table has, yeah, this table has a longer mic. If we just,
Move the table?
Dave? Yeah, so we can have him sit there so everybody can see him?
Yeah.
Okay, he'll be on camera there.
Okay, sure.
Dave McDougal, nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for coming by.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you. Michael, nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Hi, Jackie Sears.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Liz Milton.
Pleasure to meet you.
Just to let you know, we'll ask some questions, but then they'll ask some questions, okay? So welcome.
Thank you.
So did you drive out today?
Oh, yes, I did. I actually left my house about 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
How'd
I
you-
wanted to ride around for a while, look at some properties, and make sure there was no accidents on the Mass Pike and everything.
How'd you come up from, was it 395 or 106?
I came up through 195, through Providence, 146, up towards Worcester,
Okay,
to the Mass Pike.
very good. So why do you want to move here?
Why do I want to move here? I'm at the point now where
Did you put an accent on that? Just-
Yeah.
No, what?
Yeah, you did.
is that in the form of a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was a, what,
Oh, I thought it was a question. Anybody else think it was?
so why would you like to relocate to this town?
Well, actually, I'm ready to make another move in my life. I'm retired from the fire service in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And my youngest is just signed up for the military, and unfortunately, he deploys October 8th. So I have an empty house, just myself and my wife, and we're looking to move to a quieter, better area.
So why are you moving here?
You sat through that last bit of meeting.
Have you ever been to my area?
Very good. Well, Mike, I'll let you, as a senior Select person, I'll open up to you.
Where did you pull that one out of your hat?
I have no idea. Sounded good. Do you have any questions for this young man?
Not right now, I'll come back to that. I appreciate your offer, but I'll come back.
We'll go to the junior select person. Elizabeth, do you have any questions?
I'm just wondering, what do you think you can bring to Southampton? What do you think you can add to our town?
What I can bring to Southampton is all the years of experience, learning from other departments, other situations I've been to. At the age of 18, I became a volunteer firefighter. For 15 years, I was a volunteer firefighter on a volunteer ambulance. I knew then I loved the job. Then one day, the town of Portsmouth came along and said, would you like to get paid for what you do for free? I said, oh yes. Much busier department, much bigger department. 35-man department, full-time, 3 ALS rescues, population close to 18,000. We do roughly just short of 3,000 calls per year.
What's our call? I'm sorry, does anyone know what our calls are?
A little over 500.
500. Okay. So it'd be like a busy weekend.
Well, actually, there's a town right next to us that does about 500 a year, and I do a lot of training with that town.
Okay.
I'm one of the first people to go to free EMS training and other related training. And I like that town. I like that department. I like it quite a bit. So I've had a lot of experience, both volunteer and with the Portsmouth Fire Department. I've had a lot of experience. In 1998, I became part of a federal disaster team. 2001, I was at Ground Zero for 2 weeks. I worked Ground Zero for 2 weeks, from 9/11 to the 26th. Katrina, I was at Katrina. I was deployed actually before Katrina on my birthday, which was like yesterday. 28th of August, the year of Katrina, I was deployed down there. I was the second team into the Superdome, the team that emptied the Superdome, treated the people and emptied it. Numerous hurricane disaster responses I've been to. North Dakota, Red River floods. I don't think you'd have that problem here, would you? I kind of doubt it.
Certain parts of town.
Certain parts?
There's one family that moves all the furniture to the second floor just about every spring.
I hear you. Sandy Hook was my most recent deployment. It was in Brooklyn, Queens, dealing with Rockaway, Staten Island evacuees. I bring all that to the table, and there were many other missions I've gone on. As far as EMS-wise, I was a Mass EMT, as well as a Rhode Island EMT. I cut my teeth, let's say, in EMS in some of the worst parts of southeastern Massachusetts, city of Fall River, New Bedford. I learned a lot of street smarts, EMS from it. Every single department that I've taught or worked with, I've always learned something from them and brought it back for my guys to use, incorporate. If it was a better idea, better system, let's try it, evaluate it. If we like it, use it. I think I have a lot of that to bring here.
Thank you.
Jackie, do you have any questions?
We have an ambulance here. You have a lot of experience, but, you know, I'm just wondering, do you feel that an ambulance service is important for a town, and what can it bring to a town?
Oh, extremely important for a town. Besides the simple monetary things, third-party billing, increased revenue to the town, but it's safety to the citizens. We're here to serve and protect. We are public safety, number one, and we should be performing every part of public safety, whether it's law enforcement, EMS, fire safety, fire inspection. And it brings, I think it brings the community together too. It's part of the essential services that every single town needs. I'm very proud of EMS. I've always been a strong part of EMS. I was the medical director for my department, and I stood on a lot of boards with the local hospitals and even on the state committees. EMS is very important nowadays.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in our town, obviously, you can hear from the conversations, we don't have a lot of money. And I know that the fire department really needs a lot of supplies, including fire hoses, sorry. Do you have any experience with grant writing or coming up with money that we might not be able to find?
Yes, I do. I have a lot of experience with grant writing. I was able to get a 128-person casualty trailer, mass casualty trailer, from a FEMA grant. It just so happens the day we had the meeting for the casualty trailer, that night was the Station nightclub fire. And these trailers would have been ideal for a situation like that. You can treat 128 people, both ALS and BLS, while you're waiting for other resources to come. We actually got 7 of those throughout the state. I was able to include in that grant, too, a primary mover for it, which was a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, 4-door cab. And I was able to even get a brush pump and tank mounted on the back. And we called it gross decon, in case we had a call we had to go on. 3 brand new defibrillators for our ALS rescues. Those were $28,000 each. I got a grant on that. And our older defibrillators were put on our ALS pumpers. We brought our pumpers up the ALS line. Just an example.
Thank you.
Ed, do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, I do. In regards to paramedic status for Southampton, currently we are working toward that goal. I think the board last week approved the next step, and I might be out of line, but you can help me. I believe we're trying to fund it for 40 hours a week right now and move forward to full-time. I was concerned what your feelings are about going paramedic.
I think it's a great idea. I think you should. I think you should be able to provide the highest level of training, the highest level of care to the people within your community. I think it's a great decision, and I'm in total agreement with that.
Another question I have is, I know it was in the job description that it's 40 hours, but our 40 hours in the fire service doesn't really stop at 40 hours, and I just want to know what your feelings are on the notation that it's a 40-hour job.
Well, I was 7.5 years as deputy chief for my department before I retired. I never saw a 40-hour work week.
Okay.
My average work week was 70, maybe 75. Never mind the calls on the weekend. You have to come in when things have to be done, when you have time schedules to do, and as things present themselves. It's part of the job.
Very good.
You don't use the time clock.
I'm all set for now, Dave.
Chief, do you have could you describe for us either your leadership style or your management style?
My leadership style, I like to go lead by example. You know, I like the guys to know that I can do everything that they can do. I'm capable of doing everything that they can do. And I'm fair and honest with everyone within my department, with anyone I work with.
Well, as a follow-up question, as you look around the room, obviously the fellows in the blue T-shirts are our fire department. And they're a lot younger than you and I are. How would you propose to lead them?
What I propose, by example, to try to show them some of the knowledge and training that I have, pass it on to them. And I honestly believe there may be 1 or 2 things that they can also show me that's done up here. I listen, I observe.
Now, you were in a department with 35 full-time employees. Did you have the higher fire responsibility?
Excuse me?
Did you have higher and fire responsibilities as deputy chief?
With the chief, yes.
Did you have to terminate somebody?
Yes, I did.
And for what reasons?
How should I say, multiple infractions, multiple warnings, multiple suspensions, and then was final grounds for termination. There's what we call progressive discipline, and whenever you have to, unfortunately, discipline someone, you use progressive discipline. Verbal warning, showing them there was a problem, how to correct the problem. Written warning would be the second step, if they still haven't complied or done better, and then the final step would be termination. But you have to use progressive discipline. Gladly, it was only one person, my 24 years.
Mike, any other questions? So, Chief, how do you feel about politicians?
Good and bad.
Sometimes, there's
I was just thinking about training.
moments where it's been uncomfortable because we weren't really sort of getting straight answers at times.
Right.
And a lot of verbal diarrhea at times. But,
Yeah.
So how do you feel about, interacting with, we're actually your supervisors per se? Obviously it's the laws of Massachusetts and yada, yada, yada. But how do you feel about interacting with politicians? That's what we are.
Oh, I really have. I mean, you're part of the town fathers. You have a job to do, just like I have the job to do, and I do have to answer to you also. I have no problem with that.
Now, how is Portsmouth set up? Is that a city council? Or
We have what's called the town council.
Town council?
Yeah, we have a town council. There's 7 of them.
Okay.
Town council president. I'm sure you have do you have a selectman president here?
Chairman.
Chairman? Okay, which would be like the town council president. The only time the town council president votes is in the event there's a tie on any matters. We also have a town administrator.
So you're familiar with the town administrator and their role?
Oh, yes. I've worked with them many, many years.
Now, in Portsmouth, did dispatch belong within the fire department? Was there a joint dispatch with fire and police?
Currently in the process of going to a joint dispatch between, they actually, just about a year now, going to civilian dispatches. Prior to that was always a fire dispatch for the fire side and police dispatch for the police side. We didn't have a joint building. What we had that was separated us was a driveway leading to the buildings.
How do you feel about police chiefs?
How do you feel about fire chiefs? I actually work very close to the police chief next door, the police chief of the Portsmouth Police Department. I mean, we're both public safety when it comes right down to it. We should both have the same goals. Maybe he doesn't see everything the way the fire department sees it, and maybe the fire department doesn't see everything the way he sees it. And what we need is to come together. We have one goal.
Very good. Do you have any questions for us?
Not a single one.
All right. Now, if you bear with me, I'd like to open up questions to the audience, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, is there anyone that has any questions? Yes, John?
Another question. Some background also now with full-time, full benefited salary folks. Now, all our folks are volunteers, so they have a lot of full-time jobs, which management-wise is a whole different dynamic. So coming from the dynamic of a full-time force to a volunteer force, can you tell me how you would work with these folks? Because obviously, they're there because they want to take over.
Exactly.
They're not high pay or high benefit.
Well, that's the key. They're there because they want to be there. And, I really take my hat off to them. 15 years, I was there before I wanted to be there. I still remember my ties. I love the volunteer service. For 15 years I was there. I know what it takes. I know what it's like. And I know how they feel. I have nothing but respect for the volunteers. And I miss it. I'll be honest with you. I truly miss it. I would volunteer today.
Anybody else? You guys have any questions out there? Anybody else on the board?
I just have one other question.
Sure.
Maybe, so at the elementary school, the fire chief has always given his time to make sure that we're CPR certified and has done so and done a great job and has a really great reputation within the school. And I'm wondering if you have any experience within the schools and if you're able to do the same thing in that regard.
Well, I can tell when you ask that question, you really haven't seen my application.
Well, I did see it on there, and I'm just hoping...
Oh, okay, yes.
I'm just hoping you're going to say, I can't wait to recertify you in June.
The high school, the middle school, the ball clubs, whether it was the Babe Ruth League, the Pop Warner League of Football, the coaches, the staff, the Boy Scouts, I did them all. And I had a few guys that gave me a hand to do them all. Very, very pro-community. Yes. And I think a good department. That's what makes a good department.
Are there any other questions?
Just one quick one. I think we should get, from what you're saying, that you'll probably say yes, but if you get the position, will you definitely move to town?
Yes. Yes, I would. Yeah. I was surprised when we had the first interview. They said they'd give me up to a year. I'm like, ooh, that long? I didn't even think it would be, I'd say maybe 6 months. I came up here early, looking around at some of the land, some of the property.
Well, remember they're politicians, so.
I don't want to be doing that drive every single day.
Okay, that's great.
So the best thing would be to move up here. It would be. And I'm ready to.
Is your wife ready to?
Yes, she is. She's supported me all this time, and she still supports me now.
That's very nice.
I have another question.
Sure.
I'm looking it up in here, but what's your incident command level?
My incident command level, I have 100, 200, 300, 700, and 800.
Okay.
Any other questions from the public? Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next week, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in the department about 24 hours.
I know, but are they going to interview this guy?
Yeah. My daughter and son-in-law live near there.
Lots of lines.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, so, next up is John Workman here.
You know, he was here, and I told him we might be delayed a little bit, but I'll go get him.
Okay, can you fetch him, please? Thank you. And then there was a third candidate, a Daniel Galmont from Texas, and he was unfortunately could not make the trip out and has declined an interview at this time. So we'll just wait for Mr. Workman to come in. We had a little bit of a talk later after the interviewers left, and I think we should do that again, just to get some feedback. If that's okay.
Are you right now?
No, I'm just saying, I just said...
Executive?
No, last time, the public just spoke up, which I thought was great. So after the final candidate interview, I think I would encourage you to stick around and give us some comments, some feedback. I would appreciate it, if that's okay.
What's on the agenda after this?
Signing a lot of stuff. Not much on it.
We got warrants.
Yeah, it's mostly warrants.
We don't have anything on here about town administrator, though.
Well, I think we should talk about that somewhere
Yeah.
along the line.
I didn't
We
hear
should
that.
probably add that on there.
I didn't hear what Ed said.
So we should talk about that somewhere along the line. I think John's here.
Yeah, let's not...
Judge Committee Chairman. Yeah. If we're gonna do anything,
Right.
we need to explain this.
Yeah, does he know about it?
Yes, I talked to him.
Yeah, He's always talking.
I wish those guys would sit down and make me nervous. I wish those guys would sit down and make me nervous.
They're only carrying radios.
That's positive.
David?
Yes, Mr.
I can hear it asked, maybe it's in his resume. What level of EMS training is he at?
He's a certified level 3 instructor at National Fire Academy, instructor for emergency medicine management agency, PALS, DMAT. I think that's more like a Connecticut thing.
All three candidates were basics.
Basics?
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't say.
Hey. How are you? John. Yes. Dave McDougall, nice to meet you. John Workman, how are you? Hey, John. Hey, Colin. How are you? Mike Allen. How are you doing, sir? How are you?
Hi.
And Jackie Sears. How are you, Jackie? Please have a seat. Thanks for coming by, I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, how's Belchertown these days?
Belchertown's good. Quiet, which is good.
Who's your town clerk there?
Bill Barnett.
Yeah, he was. I worked with him on HCOG.
Oh, okay.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, very good guy.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
So why do you want to come to Southampton?
I'm ready for more in my career. It's a good job challenge. I've been looking at a few different chief positions along through the years, and I like the community here. It looks like a good fit. I came from a small, Belchertown, it was small. I came to the area in 1984, and it was almost the same township size. And I've watched the department grow from 5,000 people population to 15,000 now. I enjoy the fire service. I think that ambulance has a good place in fire service. So I just feel like where Southampton is heading, the department that you already have, looks like a good department and something that I could fit into nicely.
So you saw Belchertown went from all volunteer to...
Yes, I started, it's not completely full-time, no. We're still a combination department. Yeah. So when I started, I was the second full-time, the chief was the first. So I'd seen it from right in the beginning stages up through.
Very good, very good. And do you guys have a public safety complex?
No, we don't. Years ago, the chief's father, who was a previous chief, had pushed hard for a fire station by itself, and so that's what he had gotten.
Okay.
And when monies became available, we had a design already in place, so had built the building in '98.
Whereabouts is that in Belchertown?
It's right in the center, 10 North Main Street, so right just off the town common, just behind McCarthy's Pub. Very good reference point, I guess.
Very good. Very good. Well, what the process is here, obviously the Board of Selectmen are going to ask some questions. You can ask some questions of us. But at some point, we open it up to the audience and they'll ask some questions of you as well, if that's okay.
That
so I'm going to turn it over to the senior selectman and see if he has any questions. And he usually says no, so I'm going to go to the junior. So let Elizabeth ask her a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Liz.
Are you passing first, really?
Are you passing, sir?
Oh, well, I just figured I was assumed to have passed.
Oh,
Usually I'm accused of saying too much, and tonight he's accusing me of saying too little.
Liz, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, what do you think that you can bring to our Southampton Fire Department?
Well, I have almost 25 years of firefighting experience already. I've done a lot of management just through the National Fire Academy and Mass Fire Academy. I've worked with a volunteer department, watched it grow, brought it up through, had written a lot of grants that I personally had written for almost $750,000 in total. I think the experience I bring as a grant writer and code enforcement, as an administrator, as a public educator, I think could benefit the town, and I'd bring that with me as I came.
And I read through your resume, and I might have missed it, but do you have any experience with teaching teachers and lunch ladies CPR?
Not CPR. No, I don't. No,
Okay.
no. I've done some teaching for the school department. Mostly what I've done is for like fire extinguisher use, just because often if you haven't used a fire extinguisher, you don't tend to use it effectively. So just training some of the maintenance staff. Certainly the department has worked to teach CPR, and I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
So,
Are you able to teach CPR?
no, I'm not.
You're not, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jackie, do you have any questions?
Actually, I do. I'm sorry I didn't shake your hand when you came here. Nice to meet you.
Yes, good to meet you also.
I actually In 2011, as you remember, we had a pretty bad storm that knocked the power out to all the communities in the area.
Yes.
And so I was on the select board at that time, and I had a really hard time with it because I thought that maybe, although our emergency responders did a fantastic job, but I thought maybe we missed somebody in the community because it was cold and the power was out here in Southampton for 7 days, or was it 7 or 8 days?
6 days. 6 days.
Is that right? And so we were asked in the select board to go to the police department every day to be briefed on how the emergency responders were doing. And Collie is our director there. He does a great job.
Good, yeah.
And, but I thought, what if we miss somebody at home? If there's a handicapped person, elderly person, and they're cold, and they're too independent to reach out for help.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, tell him about the story about your neighbor.
I'll tell you a very quick story. There was a little old lady who didn't have any power and she was really cold, and in the middle of the night she walked down my street, wrapped all up, and she knocked on my door and it was dark, and so I let her in and I took care of her, you know, until she'd get back, but nobody checked on her, and I didn't even know that she was there. I didn't think anyone was there.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. And you know, it's almost, do you have like senior center?
Yes.
And how were they with keeping?
They're wonderful. As a matter of fact, I had contacted Jennifer Pelquin, who's the director, and asked her if there's anybody in the center, any of the members that she thought were vulnerable. And she named 3 people that wasn't sure they had enough family members. So I asked the police department if they would go
do a wellness
check on them. Yes. And they did.
Yep.
And then I asked Eileen Kuchar, who's our town clerk, that has been here forever. She's wonderful. She knows everybody. So I went to visit her.
Yep.
And she told me about some people, but I still thought we didn't reach everybody.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, and it sounds like you took some good initiative steps, because it's hard to identify, especially, you know, a senior population, when they're independent. They don't always rely on all the services around, and so it can be a challenge to find a way to reach them and to keep a database, if you will, of finding them in that type of an event. So,
Right.
The initiatives that you took sound like...
Well, we're just getting the program, you know, started on September 12th. We're having our first volunteer meeting. We have 5 so far.
Yep. Yeah.
And so we're coming here on September 12th at 6:30. And the program actually comes from Logan City, Utah, because I went online. After a long search, I found a program that I thought that we could use here. So I gave it to the police department, and Sergeant Ellingsworth made it applicable for our small town.
Great.
So my question to you is, a long question, but you know, I'm just curious. I mean, the program basically is a volunteer program, so we're going to train people and make them understand, like, go in their community and make a report of who would be vulnerable and just make sure they're safe. And
it's hard because nobody wants to admit they're vulnerable.
well,
and
you
it's
know,
a challenge.
At least document who lives in, in that town, and then we're going to have a map at the town hall and a little, you know, we're going to mark off what neighborhoods are safe.
Yep.
And so we're, you know, we have a great community.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But this is going to make it even tighter.
Sure, sure, and that's a computer-based program, I assume.
Well,
okay.
I don't know. It's going to be more communication, verbal, and we're going to take down names, of course. And but my question to you is, how would the fire department help with a program like this?
I think the fire department could help in some of the initial planning. Just, I think it's really whatever you end up with a program to sort of to identify all those people. I think that the more the community that you involve in that identification, and then sort of figure out where we can all fit into that. So I'm not sure where the fire department would fit exactly, but I'm certainly open to a role.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a good program. Good for you.
Ed, do you have any questions?
Good initiative.
Southampton's moving forward with paramedic.
Yes.
And I want to know what your views on paramedic status for Southampton.
I think it's a great idea. I think that's a community-driven thing. I think it's what you have for resources in fire department EMS. It sounds, from what I've heard, that you are on the cusp of going paramedic. I think it's an excellent service to provide for the town. I would wholeheartedly support that and help facilitate that.
Does Belchertown currently use paramedics?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're familiar with the whole
Yes, I
process?
do, and I've actually, talked to some other chiefs and such that have carried into that, in from a ILS service to an ALS service, so got some ideas that I can bring to the table for that, and it sounds like you're actually mostly on your way to it.
I know they've been working very hard on it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds. Sounds like they've done a good job.
Receive some equipment that's going to help us out.
Yes.
On that certification period.
Yeah, the monitors are,
Expensive.
Yep, and it sounds like it sounds like there may be some grant opportunity potentially. Certainly worth exploring.
What is your ability to move into town within a year? Is it doable?
Yes, it is doable. I'm actually in a good situation now. I've got a 3-family house that I can, it may just be a rental, it may just sell it. And so my wife and I were about to build. So it's actually perfect opportunity. So kids are just going to college, and so I'm available to move and start looking around. Like I say, I do like the community. It's what brought me this direction.
Well, it is a fast-growing community. I moved here in probably '76. It was probably 2,000 people. Now we're probably well and away over 6,000.
Yep.
And
it's amazing.
And growing.
Yes.
One thing I'll tell you is we've been called the Long Meadows of Hampshire County because we are growing at a fast pace, and we do have an awful lot of construction going on right now that other communities don't have.
Yeah, I think that's where, like code enforcement, I've got a very strong background in code enforcement. It can be helpful in that regard. Belchertown was for 10 years straight, was the most built-in community in Massachusetts, just because of the amount of land that they had. So certainly familiar with growth. I think it's a good thing when done well.
And you're familiar with, we don't have a lot of commercial buildings, but we have some commercial buildings, shopping plazas and that, and they constitute a different set of rules and regulations for fire service. And
sure.
You're very much versed in that.
Yes. Yep.
Another thing I want to ask you is, I know on the application form that talked about a 40-hour schedule. What is your interpretation of that 40-hour schedule?
Well, I think the dynamic of a chief is to be available when you need to be available, especially when you have a combination, volunteer department, call department. And so 40 hours is probably not going to be all, 9 to 5. My guess is that you're going to have time just for, departmental things, just, town board type things that are going to dictate different hours into that. So I guess I don't expect those hours to be 9 to 5, punch a clock. I expect them to be what the community needs.
And this would be your primary job?
Yes.
Okay. And if you were given the job here, you would resign from Belchertown, or would you?
Yes, I'd want to, I've been there for 25 years, so I'd want a respectful time period with them. But yes, I would not stay with Belchertown.
Okay. That's all I got right now.
Mike, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question for you. Am I being addressed as a senior man because of my age or because of my length of service?
It's just dawned on me sitting here that
Length of service.
Thank you.
I was sitting here contemplating that for a long time.
Oh, he's all right. He is.
He just looks older than I do.
Keep it up, McDougal,
We'll need this new fire chief to get you out of here. Chief, the gentlemen in the blue shirts obviously are your future firefighters.
Yes, good to see them here.
I'd ask you to describe for us either your leadership or your management style.
Fire ground is paramilitary, so I expect chain of command. But past that, I think that I believe in listening to people's viewpoints, finding out the strengths of the department, seeing what the community needs are, and really my job would be to put those all together. So I feel like, I've got an open door policy. I think that, especially for a volunteer call department, that everyone is valuable. It's not a community where it's not a full-time community where you're hiring and firing and people are coming from out of town that don't know the town. My guess is that most of the guys here are from town, have been here for a bit and know the community, and are probably have a better sense of the community right now than I do. And I think that has a lot of value. So I think you need to be open to that. I think you need to, as a chief, as an administrator, you want to manage that, facilitate the positive, and offer some direction.
In that same line, in Belchertown, as deputy chief, have you had to hire and fire?
It hasn't been, I've been involved with it. It hasn't been my job to.
What was your involvement?
Some of the interview, and then some of the disciplinary.
And how do you discipline him?
Well, discipline standard is, it changes with like some of the union contract stuff. Generally, it's a verbal warning and then written warnings, and then you add those up. First off, I think, talking to people, I'm a big communicator. I believe that communication can solve a lot of problems. So I certainly think that, first step is, talking to, I don't think that everybody should necessarily run into the chief's door. I think that if there's lieutenants and deputies, I think that they are well utilized, and the expectation is that they'll listen to the concerns of the firefighters, and then they make it up the ladder. And when they come in my office, we all need to play in the same sandbox. We all need to do a good job. I think the role of the fire service is customer service. I think customer service means that you provide a service to the town, both in ambulance and in fire service, and as a customer, you feel like you got a good product. So, I'd like to hear from the guys. I'd like to, offer direction and provide good customer service to the town.
Have you been involved in any terminations over there?
No, I've been involved, well, we just had a termination. The way that it's being handled would not be the way that I would probably handle it. It's the chief's decision. We had just I'd written a grant for $500,000 where we'd hired 4. With that same grant, we had put together the ambulance service and the fire service. So there wasn't a whole lot of hiring and firing. Most of the hiring and firing had come in with volunteer. When a volunteer goes for a disciplinary action, it's really a communication issue. It really needs to be dealt with between the parties. Prefer not to have it out on the floor, prefer to have it closed doors, and try and work together. If there's issues that cannot be resolved, then that needs to be dealt with. I've had some like drinking on the job type issues just from, someone comes in from a volunteer that had to be dealt with, that type of thing. You can't have that in the fire service. So I think that you just need to be careful with how you, combine. If someone's, if you're drinking, don't show up to a fire. I think that's an easy one. When people abuse that, you can't tolerate it, and there needs to be steps to make sure that that doesn't happen. I think every case is individual. That if you've got whatever it may be, you really need to find out the dynamic of it and deal with it appropriately. For the termination for full-time, like I say, it's you're getting folks from out of town. They're a little bit more of an unknown quantity. So when they come in, things usually get discovered that you haven't, like in a volunteer, you kind of know the guys a bit better. You sort of see things coming up. The rumor mills start. You open those up and have communication. For the full-time staff, when they come in, they tend to, like I say, you don't know, they're an unknown quantity, so as things get discovered, there's usually a grace period. I prefer to see most issues dealt with in that time frame. I think if you let them go past that, you end up with problems, and that's some of what I refer to now with one of the termination issues that we're dealing with.
Thank you.
A bit long-winded, but...
It's okay. I asked the other candidate, and I'll ask you, how do you feel about politicians?
I know there's a lot of good jokes.
Politicians or jokes about politicians?
Well,
Turn off the camera.
you know, there's a spot for politicians. I mean, you folks need to be where you are, and if you're considered the politician, you know, you're doing the job, you're trying to do a service for the town. I think there's plenty of instances when you're not going to make a popular decision. I think that's part of your job. I think you're looking out for the best part of the community. Whenever you make decisions, I think that there's always people who may not agree with those decisions. Politicians are a necessary part of what we're doing. Do I laugh at some of the jokes? I do. But politics is part of life.
Do you ever interact with the Board of Selectmen in Belchertown at all?
Yes, I do. Yep. The town administrator, I sometimes found it easier dealing with him just with some of the limitations that were presented to me. It was good to find other avenues for openness for things that might benefit the department. And the town administrator was a good wealth of knowledge because he knows the political climate, knows the funding and the financing, and is the necessary one to really solve problems sometimes.
Very good.
So.
Well, thank you for coming by.
Sure. What level do you have in instant command?
I have the highest of 400.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was just going to say, John, if you had any questions for us.
I think not. I've done a fair amount of research just on the community, just on, you know, the department. Talked to a few people, just to get a sense of what you've got going already. Feel pretty good about that. I feel like you've really got some good things to work with.
I'm going to open it up to the public here.
Absolutely.
Anyone has a question? Yes. Can you just state your name and where you live, please, if you could?
Sure. Patrick Egloff, 32 Crooked Ledge Road. I was on the selection committee.
Okay.
I just want to ask Mr. Workman, because Mr. Workman is currently on a full-time fire department. I'd like everybody in the room, especially the firefighters, to hear exactly how his resume was. Not everybody had access to the resume like we did.
What do you mean by...
I was on the selection committee.
So what do you mean by your resume?
Well, what he does. What he does, what I want to do is I want to ask Mr. Workman what his duties and responsibilities are currently in the town of Belchertown. And if he can elaborate on something that is dear to me, and that is the SAFE program in our schools, and how, if he has anything to do with the SAFE program.
John, can you answer?
Yeah, absolutely. For duties in the town, you know, second in command, I've been second in command for 18 years, anyway, 20 years probably. And my duties, I ran training at one time. I currently am not running training right now, but I'd sat with Hampshire County as on the training committee as chair for a number of years. So really heavily involved in training during my career. Fire prevention, code enforcement, I've done a lot of that in regards to school work and as job title and fire prevention, just, you know, smoke detectors, sprinkler system reviews, alarm reviews, those type of things. Public education, I guess when I look at the fire service, I look at it as a three-legged stool. I think that emergency response, when you send out a red truck or an ambulance, you're saving lives. I think with code enforcement, if you've got a smoke detector that wakes somebody up in the middle of the night and it gets them out of a fire, that smoke detector has saved a life. and I think is important, and is equally as important as when we go and bring the truck later. And third part of that stool is public education. Public education is going in. I've got a strong program that I've brought up, written a lot of grants for with the SAFE program, that goes into the schools right from kindergarten right through to 5th grade. We go to some of the classes a couple times a year, and I've had really good success with that program. We find that by educating the kids, we've got almost an army of firefighters, if you will, going into the house and telling mom and dad what they learned. You know, getting mom and dad to check a smoke detector where otherwise they may not have. We've had documented saves where we had a 2nd grader lead a group of other kids that she was being babysat for. And there was smoke in a dryer, and she had got them all to crawl low into the ground and get out of the house. Nobody got hurt. To me, that's a huge thing, because that means that, you know, Belchertown Fire Department went into that classroom, taught that young kid about, you know, crawling low under smoke, and that saved her, I think it was 5 other kids that were with her and the babysitter. I think the public education, the SAFE program, is a tremendous tool for a community, for the fire department. I think it's a tremendous benefit for the community, and I'm not sure exactly how much of a program you currently have here, but I would encourage and participate in bringing that even more to the forefront, because I think it is that valuable. I think the education is something that you can give them for a lifetime and make for safer communities in general. And just for an example, because I can go on with this. In 4th grade, we started a hunt for home hazards. We really started to empower the kids to go out and kind of look to see what it takes to help their moms and dads to keep a house safe. When we started to do that program, we dropped the number of active structure fires. In that year when we first started it, we had no working structure fires. After that point, we had 2 or 3. That's tremendous. I'd like to say that that's those kids going home, you know, talking to their moms and dads, being aware of themselves, and not just for fire, but also for ambulance. That's a tremendous asset for a community. For fire guys, and I like to go in and see some fire, so they may not feel the same way right away, but I think we all can play a part in it. I think if people have interest in it, I certainly would like to promote that. It's something that I hold myself as a strong vision for a department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? John?
Question, John. If I remember what you said, you're doing a mixed model now.
Yes.
With full-time and volunteer, but it sounds like you started when it was mostly volunteer?
Yes, I started as a volunteer.
And now, obviously, the chief is the first full-time position we have. And I think as we talked about over the years, we're looking at going into some other full-time hires. So I'm curious in how it went from the volunteer up to a mixed model, how that worked, were there a lot of issues along the way?
Well, there's always issues along the way. I think that's part of just what happens. We started a little bit differently in that the ambulance was a separate town entity. To me, it didn't, what made sense to me is to combine the two. I think that the assets can work together well. I think that the personnel serve a common goal of, you know, taking care of the town, keeping the town safe, both physically, you know, as first responders, and of course saving houses. I think it utilizes personnel, especially in a full-time manner, because you can cross-train and they can do both duties to some degree. You're not going to hire, you know, 2 full-time people that cover an ambulance and think that you have fire coverage. Fire coverage takes a whole team. It takes, you know, all the call volunteer that you have, and it takes, you know, the full-time staffing working together. So I think some of the challenges tend to be just communication. I think that sometimes if you don't have good communication, Rumor mills can start. I think that's where you can have some of your problems. But it's a good, it's a good direction. I think the ambulance service, especially staffing, I think the direction that you're headed with an ALS ambulance is a tremendous direction to go. I think that's getting a lot of bang for the buck in service for the town. And I think it's already combined with the fire. That's tremendous. I like that direction. I think it's good for the town.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Come on, you guys must have something.
Does the board have any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear about his grant writing. Well, you said almost $750,000?
That's correct.
On a small town of Southampton like this, that could go in a long way.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that the grants were awarded for in the amounts?
Yep. As you had started off with SAFE, I've been writing SAFE grants now for a number of years. I don't remember. I totaled them up when I had done my resume. They were about $4,000 a year for the last, 15, 20 years kind of thing. So that adds up significantly and helps out that program because there's often not a lot of extra money in the budget to support things like buying fire hats for kids. So that grant from the state was a helpful grant. I've gotten, the big grants were from FEMA. There was about an $80,000 grant that I had gotten for some software programming, so you could do the mass fire incident reporting. That grant also encompassed some computers, both for the secretary and for the dispatch area that we have, just so that the firefighters could have computers available to them. At that time, I was heavily involved in training. One of the challenges for training, especially a call department where guys are working outside, is to give them alternatives. I gotten part of that grant was some training software that they could sit down and was part of the software documented how they did on the tests and those kinds of things. So that was about an $80,000 grant. Can't think of what else. Might have been some printers and some other sundries. I'd written a grant for $250,000 approximately, which included all new gear for the department, all new SCBAs. We went to the Scott 4.5s. Just expensive items that, as you're trying to outfit guys and keep them safe, the federal government saw that we had a need, as many fire departments do, but ours looked better than everybody else, so we got some money to buy gear, buy SCBA. In that, I'd also tied in a cascade system and a compressor and a fill station, just so that we could, and some spare bottles. So that was about $300,000, $250, somewhere in there. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly. I'd written another one for $500,000, and that was the SAFER grant. That was for firefighters. We'd gotten 4 full-time firefighters. The grant was tied in with merging the ambulance service and the fire service together. And so I think that was a good move for the departments, for the town. And that was a big grant. There's been some grants for, the state had some grants for some of the thermal imaging cameras. I'm open to whatever's out there. I think that if there's money available and we can spend some time and write a grant, and it supports what the guys are doing, what the town wants to do, I think grants are a wonderful thing.
Can you write a grant for a new fire station?
They specifically exclude some of that. But yeah, that's a challenge.
That'd be nice.
Would you be interested in getting on a committee? We have a committee together for building if you were to get the job.
Yes. Yeah, to be on that building committee? Yes, that would be.
Because if you get the job,
yep,
you have to live in the building.
That's it. So, nice to have a say right from the beginning. Yep, that would be very much appreciated.
Any other questions? Does the board have any other questions? John, do you have any other questions for us, sir?
No, I think not. Feel-
Very good. Thank you for your time, sir.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Right. There you go, hello. Good luck. Oh, yeah. We have to have 10%. Tell Mike that.
Very good. I'd just like to open it up to the public for any comments about the two candidates we talked to tonight.
Oh, I can ask him then.
No, she's ready. She has a question for the
I just have a question for the firefighters, because this is one of my concerns. I don't know how many of you have kids in the lunchroom, but I like to be able to save them if they're choking, do CPR, and Mr. Kalita always was able to come in and teach me and everybody, and so at the moment, my big concern between the two is that one can teach it and one cannot. And so, is there anybody on, there's somebody who
There's
can...
some individuals that are
that-
CPR certified to teach.
To teach it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lunch ladies are saying.
Thank you.
Lunch lady.
Well, I just want to keep the kids safe, not so much me, but the kids.
Now, ask them when they can come in.
Oh, well, I mean, as long as there's somebody, I'll call them. Somebody will call them, but I just,
Mike
was wondering.
Mike made a comment about a hairnet.
I said, Chief.
About a what? You need a hairnet? Oh.
He's starting trouble again.
But no, seriously, any comments from the audience, please?
I asked a question before, I didn't think I got an answer. What was the level, is he at the basic?
They're all basic, they're both basic.
No, I'm talking, the other guy's basic.
They were both basic, yeah. MTVs. Any other thoughts?
I think we're going to do the candidates, so that's good.
Sir, what's your name?
Kyle Milton.
Yes.
I think a concern for us is the way we're staffed during the day is we have 2 guys during the day and the chief to make up for the first line engine going out. Major concern for us is somebody who's going to be capable of performing that firefighting job in the 10 or 15 minutes before we get other crew members in. So I think having somebody young and energetic and strong would be a
We've already been sued for that.
I understand.
We've already been sued, seriously, we've already been sued about over ageism, so we have to not, that's an obvious thing, but that's something that we can't.
I guess the easiest thing to say is they all have to pass a physical.
They have to pass a physical.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. Somebody that's able to perform the abilities of a firefighter.
Right.
No, I hear you. That would, yes, obviously, that would be right up front. Any other concerns about
Not
the
based on
candidates?
age, but based on ability.
Ability, right.
Next question, I wish I would have asked it. The last gentleman's restaurant, is he more administrative than he is direct management of the staff?
Mr. Workman.
You know, he's a captain for 13 years. I mean, it's just,
But he's deputy chief now.
I think
He's doing all the
from what I read on his resume, he had a lot of on-hands experience. You know, he worked his way up. Chief, go
And if
ahead.
I can answer that question.
Go ahead.
In the town of Elton, every fire department's different. The city of Springfield, you go all the way from lieutenant up to deputy chief, and there's 5 different, in commission, and there's like 5 different ranks. In the town of Belchertown, he is a captain, but he is second in command. It's because it's smaller, they don't have as big a structure. So he's second in command, he's instant commander, he makes command decisions.
Typical point of the deputy.
any other comments? Guys from, yes, sir.
Yeah, Ed LeBray. They both seem to be very excellent candidates, and it's like one of the concerns that I heard from down at the end here was that one seemed to have more training experience, like for CPR or whatever, than the other. But the other thing you got to look at is how able are they and willing are they to use delegations. So they don't have to be a know of everything and teach of everything. If they set themselves up correctly, it would work out well.
True
so
story.
either one of them would work out well, from what I could see.
What about any other concerns you might have? No? Okay. The guys in the back, they're hiding in the hallway? Anyone else? Any comments? Any comments from the...
Yeah, what's our next move? What's our plan?
What's the purview of the board? What would you like to do?
I'd like to meet afterwards and discuss it.
I don't know whether you can do that,
What's on the agenda?
in open session, though.
I don't know if we can talk about it in open session.
Once you've narrowed it down to two finalists, you've got to conduct it in open session.
I mean, I'm inclined to talk about this afterwards and make a decision, move on.
Afterwards,
the town needs somebody.
What do you define afterwards?
Toward the end of this meeting here.
Just out of curiosity, and just to be clear, let's make sure the agenda covers it.
And that was just interview, I didn't think it was actually selection.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Well, it just says continued discussion of fire chief's applicants.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I mean, I would be, as chair, I would sort of like to continue the discussion now and not sort of get lost in doing other things, so.
Public's here, we might as well do it.
Yeah. Make a motion to continue the discussion now on the selection.
So, those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so with the junior person, do you have any comments down there?
I think my biggest concern, as everyone knows, is making sure that the people in school are trained. And other than that, I think both of them are able and very qualified candidates. And if I had to choose one or the other right now, I would choose Mr. Workman. I think that he's going to be able to relate best with the firefighters that are over there now. And I think he would be a good fit in our town.
Jackie?
It's exactly how I feel, too. I think he'd be able to communicate well with the firefighters we have now.
Can you expand on that? Just what do you mean? I mean, they both speak English. I just don't, what do you mean?
Well, he just seems to have an easier way about him, although the other gentleman was very nice and definitely qualified, but his mannerisms, Mr. Workman, seemed easier. He just seems like somebody you could talk to.
I think he's relatable.
Yes, thank you.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Michael?
Mr. Church, to me, was a more dynamic personality, more engaging, more direct with his comments. And I just started doing a quick analysis of time on firefighting. And if I'm reading this right, Mr. Church was 87 through 201 as a firefighter, and Mr. Workman has spent 4 years between volunteer, auxiliary for 2 years and a firefighter for 2 years, both positions as voluntary. And then it looks like he stepped into a lieutenant's position full-time and did that for 7 years. So if I'm reading this correctly, he spent 4 years in actual fire, as a firefighter, as opposed to a supervisory position. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. And it seems like the other one spent more time as a firefighter. And I only bring that up to kind of balance the weight between the two of them. I think you got two good candidates here. It's hard to make a choice. I'm torn.
Well, I don't think we need to make a choice tonight. I mean, I think
well, if you don't decide tonight, when are you going to decide? We're going to leave this room, the five of us, with a candidate in mind.
Okay.
I mean, whether we vote on it tonight or not, I don't know. They're so close and so good, it's just hard. I'd like to listen to other people say things.
Ed?
We do have two excellent candidates. I'm more inclined with John Woodman. I like his ability to function with a like town of a like size. Has worked in the Massachusetts firefighter system for many years. I think he's an excellent candidate with his ability to write grants. I think he can relate better to the firefighters we have in Southampton right now. I think that he has an awful lot to offer as far as safety programs and also his feeling on the paramedic statute that we're moving into. And Mr. Church, I think, was also an excellent candidate, but I don't think he has the same attributes that I'm looking for the town of Southampton to work with the firefighters that we have.
Yeah. Well, I would agree they're both good candidates. And just to talk about Mr. Church first, and he came across very direct, like Michael was saying. The answers were very straightforward. My experience in the past is sometimes we did not get that kind of an answer. So maybe I'm prejudiced by that and looking for that as a quality in a fire chief, that if I ask a question, I get an answer. But having said that, I tend to feel that Mr. Workman might be the better of the two candidates because of the like community, as you were saying, and the transition that we actually are looking for to go from all volunteer to full-time over the next 10, 15 years. And Mr. Church does bring a lot of extra years of education and Washington's education, but years of experience that would be a great mentor, I think, for the department. Insight into how to handle things from his years of experience, much more than I think anyone in this room could ever imagine, some of the things that a guy has done. And that would be a great asset to the town, too, if he was able to mentor the gentleman on the fire department and instill some of the training that he has gained over the years for the next chief that might come from our ranks. But that's all I have to say at this moment. But if anyone wants to make a motion to choose one of the two tonight, I would entertain it.
Do we want to hear from the public again? Or?
Do you want to make another comment from the public? Yes, sir.
I only had one other comment. I think they're both highly qualified. I would be pleased with either one of them. One of the advantages that Mr. Workman has is he's worked in Hampshire County for 25 years. He knows the other chiefs. He knows the hospitals. He knows the people. He knows the staff, and he comes very highly recommended from those local people who have interacted with him over very many years. And I think that's a plus. Very difficult to walk into a situation cold and have to start from zero, if you will.
Thank you. I didn't know if you guys had talked to other people about the candidates when you were going through the screening process. Did you check all of their references and such?
Ed checks some references because, again, he's in the fire business too, and he knows some of these people that they wrote as references. And the ways we got that kind of feedback on Mr. Workman.
Can I just ask the firemen, what do you guys think?
We need a chief. We're looking at you guys to make that decision.
Now I'm looking to you guys to give us some insight.
What are we saying right now? Sorry, I said we're going to get sued.
What's that?
I said our insight, we're going to get sued, so we can't go back.
Come on, Wayne, anything over there. Give me something.
You must have a preference one way or the other.
It'd be better if we could all get together and talk amongst ourselves instead of just being put on the spot.
That's all right.
If they want to do that, why don't we take a 5-minute, if you want to do that, take a 5-minute recess or 10-minute recess. And if they want to talk amongst themselves and come back with a question or not, or something like that off. And I understand the reluctance for them. We can't discuss it off camera, but they can discuss it amongst themselves off camera. And then if they wanted to come back with a question or something.
Hugh, could you go with them and then you could voice whatever they say, that way they're not put on the spot? Is that possible?
Is that I think a position put to you to do. I think they can speak for themselves.
But I'm not saying that's the way we have to go. I'm suggesting it to the board.
No, that's a great idea, I think. I think if you guys want to sit out in the hallway and talk a few minutes, and then if no one from the group wants to speak, we can have someone from here.
Instead of recess, can we continue with signing warrants? Yeah, can we do warrants?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, guys.
I need to get a chair.
And if the members of the public want to do this.
I need to take a chair. Yeah, you're gonna. I need to start in a chair. I'm in. I got enough going on. I don't want to do that.
Police chief and the fire chief. One's the weak chief, one's the strong chief. Before we hire somebody in the fire department, would it make sense to make those two people so that we don't have
Well,
issues like
that takes a town meeting to do that.
Should we schedule that before a person starts? Because we know the issues we have with
What is the issue? Strong chief.
That's a good question. We've talked about it, and when it's come up just every year or so, and I always sort of defer to former chiefs, like Chief Barkham, about that concern. Strong chief law. What's your take on it?
I think that's great protection for the fire service.
Is it great for the town?
Yeah, it is. Because you can get somebody's brother-in-law that's appointed who knows nothing about fighting, ambulance. It takes the politics, or most of the politics, out of the fire department.
May I have to defer to...
I mean, that's the fire chief's opinion, I respect that.
What is your opinion?
My opinion is that they should be equal, one way or the other, and it created a lot of issues in the past with prior fire chiefs.
Yeah, strong
You really
chief
don't
law.
have any say in what that fire chief does. You only have discipline of the fire chief. You can't, but the policies, procedures, anything below that.
He can hire fire and do,
The fire chief is the one that
we can do
can
very
make all
well.
those
Once we
decisions.
appoint him,
Yes.
he's in control of the department.
Is that how it is at the police
Listen
department?
to his
No,
people.
police department's a weak
Good
chief.
chief. Would do the right thing.
Our police
The
department's a
problem
weak
is
chief.
you get somebody's brother-in-law
Fire
or
chief's a
somebody's
strong
nephew.
chief.
Okay.
While Hyde was there, we tried to reduce it to a weak chief. They hacked the hall and we lost that issue. Because we couldn't tell them what to do or how to do it, or we have a budget control. We control the
We have a
budget.
strong chief, the fire chief.
Not his
the deputy
police.
chief,
Okay,
the
we-
Gotcha.
police chief.
I gotcha.
So they have different levels of authority, and the select board has different levels of authority with them. And it's unequal.
Basically, when it comes to fire department, we have budgetary control.
Yeah,
And that's it.
Well, we have disciplinary control over the
You're right.
fire chief
Pay the
itself in
bills.
his contract.
That's it. Once we appoint the chief, we have little or no control over the operation of the department.
Right.
And that's the way it should be.
Respecting your
My
opinion.
opinion.
Yeah, respecting your opinion, Bill. But with the police department, we hire and fire the officers, and we have,
And we definitely not say make them both strong chiefs. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I think it's a town meeting issue.
it most definitely is. We
I
lost
work in
it.
a large community. I work for the city of Westfield. I'm deputy chief in Westfield. Westfield, we have a weak chief system, meaning that we have a board, a fire commission, that does the hiring, firing, promoting, demoting. I believe that in a larger community, like the city of Westfield, city of Springfield, that a weak chief system will work. I believe in a small town like Southampton, you have to stay with the strong chief.
But we actually, the fire commissioners, believe it or not.
Yeah, but, you know, with the strong chiefs, if you read the law, it says a chief can be removed after hearing with cause.
Can be or can't be?
You can
Can, yeah.
remove him after a hearing of cause. So he's not God.
No, but within the department he is.
Um,
To a much larger extent than the police officers. Police.
Well, I never saw it. The chiefs I worked under and when I was chief.
We never had problems with your department.
Is that something
How
that
can I
needs...
say it nicely?
You can't.
So
No, you can say it, you just can't say it nicely.
Just so you
Put
see.
it behind you and go ahead from here.
Oh, yeah.
You had a problem, okay? So go ahead from here. John Workman, I shouldn't even give him an opinion, but,
Yes, you should.
Yeah, who else in the room is more qualified than, well, a couple of people.
I've known John Workman for a long time, okay? The guy from Rhode Island, very polished, very well educated, he has good experiences, etc. Now, I know John Workman back when Belchertown Ambulance used to pick up a cop on the way, okay? It wasn't part of the fire department. It is now. He's worked through all that. He knows what's going on with call people, because he was one. They're different than somebody that's there for a job. I think he'd make an excellent chief. That's my opinion.
Thank you for speaking up. Eddie, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the other thing we want to keep in mind is with the strong chief's law, it does give the firefighters the strength of not being able to be fired at for no reason at all, because they afford the same protection where there must be a cause and a hearing.
Even if, that sort of reflects all the way through the force then?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, because I was involved with the fire department when my father was chief, when he pushed to get the strong chief's law. So I remember those issues.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
It may be obvious, but I think it's significant that you have 3 former fire chief, 2 deputy chiefs, and I was on the committee, obviously, too, who agree that both candidates are exceptionally well qualified. That's what we selected, but would prefer Mr. Workman based on their knowledge and their input. And I think that's a critical factor.
Yes, sir.
One thing that I noticed between the two, if I was to put myself in a firefighter's position, is there's 2 different, would I say, attitudes like? One of them was very strict and could almost be felt as being intimidating, whereas the other one is very soft, understanding, and he listens, very nice. He gives himself a very personable demeanor. And I think that's important too.
I know John Workman would
Yeah, John, I'd probably have to stick with a strong chief. I'm just hearing what they're saying. It protects the firemen as well. I mean, I didn't realize that aspect of it. It's been brought up several times along the way.
We ran into this, it became an issue with the ambulance fund, as I recall. That's where the make or break started the last time we tackled it, was the ambulance fund. And if I remember, we were... No, you asked the question to find the answer. But as I recall, we looked at the chief law because of the ambulance situation. We were replacing an ambulance every 2 years, which seemed needless at that point in time. We were turning over ambulances. We were putting diesel engines in vehicles we weren't driving for 2 years and getting rid of it. And it made no sense to me personally why we were spending extra money for a diesel to give it away to another department 2 years later.
Replacing a vehicle depends on the service that it's had and the history of that vehicle.
Well, I was once told that we had to replace an ambulance because the tires were bad.
Wasn't me.
No, but I was once told we replaced an ambulance because we needed tires.
You had nothing to do with that.
And I suggested we buy a new set of tires.
It's okay.
Well, we got your disclaimer. Do you want to do some warrants while we wait for the...
Yes. Got warrants down that end.
Ready? Okay. She's checking everything out.
I was looking at everything.
You were? Good, so it's your fault now if it's not right.
That's right.
So we have payroll warrant 14-9 in the amount of $71,148.21. Everyone can sign it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Hold on while I sign my name.
Liz can't sign the next one.
And we
Can't
have,
do the next one, according to this.
right. We have payroll 14-9-1 in the amount of
You shouldn't
$97,000.
even read that, Liz.
Why, I can't read it at all?
You shouldn't participate. You should abstain.
Right here. Number 2.
Payroll 14-91, $97,247.13.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Then we have payroll 14-9-2 in the amount of $22,573.83. I can't sign it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
You can sign.
You can sign that one.
And we have payroll 14-9-3 in the amount of $508. Jackie can't sign it.
So I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Jackie abstains. And that's all the warrants.
There's got to be, there's a license permit.
Yeah, I don't know what some of the stuff in here is, I'm sorry.
Sign for paramedic. Okay, so that should be down there, there's a dash.
Jackie, you can't sign this one. You gotta
Can I
take your
sign
name
it?
off.
Okay. The next one I can't sign.
508, you can't sign.
Right.
Never take your name off.
Yeah,
What's this sign the letter for the paramedic? Where's that one?
Yeah, there's some stuff here.
The last, it's the last thing on your, it's the last page, I think, supporting.
Here, hit this. Go right down.
So,
Make it go right down.
You do, there's this little thing over there, you touch
Yeah.
that, drag it all the way down. It'll go down to the end.
Oh, jeez, learn something new every night.
Mike,
Yeah.
so there's this thing here, the Pleasant View Estates.
Well,
Charlie.
Amanda's here, I thought I saw somewhere. Didn't I see Amanda come in?
Amanda's here.
Oh, there she is. Isn't that her?
Pleasant View Estates?
I had submitted a letter and dropped it off. Are you looking to find out about the extension?
Yeah, it's in here.
It's the extension?
They're willing to give you a 2-week extension beyond the original date, which was the 31st, so we're willing to give you to the 13th. If you decide you want to do an appraisal, they would then want to discuss, that.
If she hasn't got it sold, I think I already did. Are you taking notes for this?
If I can summarize what the emails that I saw going around, planning board said they had no interest. It went to housing, but I didn't see anything come back from housing, and Charlie's expressed his interest in the property.
Well, the Conservation Commission responded to the question. How long would we have to be able to come up with money?
Well, basically, the town has to decide whether or not they want to exercise the rights, so you would need to know. I mean, my understanding was that there's already been some exploratory, questions, because the Kellogg's had received a call from a land bank or land trust out of Amherst, so.
Some of the questions that were addressed to me when I presented the letter, and if you remember, the Conservation Commission submitted a letter last time asking you to consider purchasing 9.9 acres associated with this Pleasant View Estates. This is a parcel within a larger parcel of about 30 acres. And she purchased that 9.9 acres. They want to develop that, and the Conservation Commission had a vote with a plurality of just one, that the town should buy it, with a minority that the town should not. And we submitted via email questions to characterize the various positions here on either side of the issue. And they go, what do you have an interest in this property? What is the Conservation Commission going to do with this property? How does the purchase serve the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act? How does the purchase support the stewardship and goals of the Commission? And where does the Commission expect to find money for the appraisal purchase of the contract and the contract required? And you had 3 responses. The first one was the minority response. The value of these 9.9 acres is open space, is limited. The Kellogg's would convey 18.3 acres to a land trust as open space if these 9.8 acres were developed. We would treat this parcel as we do the 38 acres we manage across the street from this parcel. It is neglected in terms of any maintenance because of other priorities, but could be used for passive recreation. The property has no wetlands or critical natural heritage areas associated with it, hence the Wetlands Protection Act does not have any jurisdictional interest in the property. Development of recreational opportunities for Southampton residents and protection of areas of environmental significance of the goals of the Conservation Commission stewardship's effort, as well as the Wetland Protection Act. These 9.8 acres have limited recreational opportunities in those sensitive environmental areas. The SEC has not addressed finding any resources to pay for this purchase. There are a number of options. The one that we are most familiar with would be the land grant, which we use to get Wolf Hill and the Greenway. Other grant sources might involve the Department of Conservation. We've got and recreation, though I don't think the kind of monies involved here would be applicable to their grants. These take time, well over a year, and would only be granted to a project that is competitive environmentally and in terms of recreational value to other projects across the state. In other words, you don't have any money, would have to apply for a grant, and I'm not sure this, as a minority member, would be competitive to what's out there. One of the positive responses on the majority, again, plurality of one in this majority, our interest is high. Acquisition of this parcel and potentially the remainder of the parcel would lead to connections to the Fowler's property, which abuts the Manhandle. As we do with all our properties, we will pursue marketing the property for passive recreation opportunities. The parcel does not serve the interest of WPA directly, the Wetlands Protection Act. However, it fulfills the interest of the Conservation Commission Act of 1957. The Commission will utilize funds from our land acquisition accounts to fund initial appraisal. Various options exist, unidentified, for acquiring the property within the time frame required. Now, we also have another more, a larger positive response that goes on for 4 pages. But basically, the concerns I have is that this project, if we approached the guns 2 years ago and asked and tried to get the $750,000 for the whole 83 acres, we might have something that would be something similar to the Zipner Farm, and that might be a competitive project at the DCS in Boston. At this stage, it's only 9.9 acres in an area in which 18, if they were allowed to develop the project, these 18 would be put aside as open space. So the commission is somewhat divided. Where the money would come from, how long it would take years. And especially the competitive nature of the 9.9 acre parcel without any wetlands on it is questionable in my judgment.
Can I say something? Charlie, the Zipner's property, there was a benchmark, not benchmark, but there was the intent of the grant was to protect the water supply.
That's right, I understand that.
Okay, to me, that's not the same thing what you're trying to do, your board's trying to do up there.
Yes, that had more relevance to the town's needs too.
Charlie,
That's where we stand.
Charlie, did I pick up that you were in the minority on this?
I am
the minority. And my question is, why do we think the Kellogg's would give us the 9 acres in the middle and not make, what are they going to do with the 18 acres around the outside?
They're conveying that as a land trust amendment.
But I would assume only if that gets developed.
We discussed a couple of different options, and so basically you choose not to exercise your right to buy the piece that's going to be subdivided. We had talked about donating the land around it to the town, or the other option is, because I know you had said, why do that and take it off the tax rolls, is to put it into a trust that the homeowners association is going to maintain. So that land that surrounds the area that's going to be subdivided into, I think it's the 10 lots, would remain open space.
But I would assume that Kellogg's don't want, if we go to exercise our right of purchase, we're not going to buy just the 9 or 10 acres that's going to get developed. We would have to buy that whole parcel, because why would they want to get the land, keep the land around it that's undevelopable?
I'm not sure what they would do if we have the right to withdraw our request for the waiver and to pull back our request to take it out of chapter. I'm not sure what their response would be if you decided to exercise to buy the 9, because it does affect what they can do with the remaining.
Right, and why would we want to buy the 9 acres in the core and not the land around it? I don't understand that at all.
Amanda,
I can't tell you what the intent would be if
I
you
understand.
decided to exercise that right.
Amanda, that is a working farm that Kellogg's have there right now?
Across the street where their house is, they maintain and they use the acreage that's behind their house. They hay the area that they bought, and they're going to continue, or the intent is to continue to hay that 18, the piece behind the 9 that's being divided.
So, in your realm of things, they're thinking about keeping that 18 acres, even though it was owned by the town, as a field that would hay, and they would use that, keeping it an open space.
That's why they talked about putting it into a trust, because the trust would ensure that it remains open, or donating it to the town, that also ensures that it remains open.
Thank you.
So we should take a vote whether or not to go forward with this.
You got a question over here, Charlie?
No, I'm sorry.
I'm Chet Kellogg, and I'm the owner of the property. And it's a 30-acre parcel altogether. The parcel where the homes would be, the 10 homes would be in the center, take up almost 10 acres. And then remaining almost 18, almost 19 acres is going to be kept in open space. It could never be developed. And I'm going to, the bottom part of that field, I would still be farming.
Thank you.
It's just part of it here.
Do you want to exercise, or do you want?
I don't want to see any more development, but I don't see where this does us any good, and I don't, unless the Conservation Commission has a good idea what to do with this. It's a 25 or how many acres, 30-acre parcel?
Getting 20 acres anyway.
20 acres.
Yeah.
Total 30 acres roughly.
Total of 30, so you'd be getting 20 acres.
20 acres, yeah.
But if this was purchased, we would have to purchase all of it.
Yeah, so I can't see.
And currently there is this was a town bylaw, whatever, that they had an option as a special development in there.
Yeah, I was part of the...
part of the development was they gave surrounding property as an offset in order to exercise this type of subdivision.
I was on that board that developed that plan.
Somebody in the back just said, why don't we put a fire station?
I heard that.
Who said that?
I mean, I have to agree with Charlie. If this was the whole parcel, then it made sense, because then it's a big enough parcel to do something with. I don't see this parcel as being big enough to do much of anything. I move that we town not exercise this right.
Do I have a second?
Can I just, the question tonight, though, is not whether or not you want to exercise your right, because it wasn't published that way. It's whether or not you're going to pursue an appraisal. If you decide you're not going to pursue an appraisal, then I'm going to get on the next meeting and then I'm going to ask you to not
And I would
exercise your right.
withdraw my motion and make a motion that we not pursue an appraisal.
Do I have a second?
As much as I'd like to do that, you haven't published it that way.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion about the ordinance? All right, no further discussion, have a vote on to non-extend and put it on the next agenda.
Moulton, aye.
We're doing roll call. Field and aye.
Dougal, aye. So be it. So you'll let Reggie know that you want to be on the next select board schedule,
I'll email
please?
it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just, hang on, we'll stop this for a second. So, the Men in Blue had a discussion. Does somebody want to have a comment or question? Thanks, John. Yes, sir.
After discussion, we all agree that all of the, both candidates bring tremendous qualifications to the department. And we feel that we could work with either one. We haven't, we don't feel we can come to an agreement on, tell you guys which one to hire. We just feel that we would trust your decision on which one, and then we can work with either one.
Thank you. I just was hoping to hear that, actually, because then it makes, you're comfortable with both candidates, which is very good.
Hopefully your trust is well placed.
All right, so
what's the plan? What's the agenda?
Well, I was just going to move forward on the, give me a second, I'm sorting here. So it sounds like, I sense a consensus of selection, so I would just entertain any motion to offer a position to one of the candidates tonight for the next fire chief.
Well, we also have to think about, we need a Corey. We need a backup.
We can do that, pending.
But I'm saying,
put in the motion.
Put into the motion. We need a Corey. We need a physical. And he has to produce the certifications as required by the job description.
Are you making a motion right now?
Well, I'm trying to...
So you don't have to say it twice?
Yeah. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
Background check.
Well, did we have a salary range, or did we have a specific number?
Well, we do that with him.
It's a
subject to negotiation.
There's a range in there.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that a motion to offer it to Mr. Workman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. So,
Can I offer our thanks to the screening committee?
yes.
Thank you very much.
Fine work, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Dave, would you ask the screening committee if they did any background check to at least give us that information?
Yeah. The screening committee, you guys did some background checks?
One-day permits?
Screening committee?
Not officially.
Not officially.
Pat knows some of the people who know Mr.
Okay.
He's had discussions.
He had some references on the back of his
Yes,
resume.
yep.
And first and foremost was Dave Bowden, who is the director of code enforcement for the entire state. He actually lives in Florence, Mass, and works out of Northampton. He goes back and forth from Stowe, Mass, and he couldn't say enough nice things about Mr. Workman. And then Jake Nunemacher also works for the Department of Fire Services, and he couldn't say enough nice things.
All right, what's the...
Not everybody called me back on it.
All right.
So.
We went through extended, you don't even want to know, town administrator used a higher right or something like that, and it took forever. Do you guys want to just have the committee check references? Is that something we'd like to do instead of...
Well, my understanding that the last time that with the administrator it took so long because we had to be approved by the company that...
It took 2 weeks.
And now we should not have that
Okay.
problem.
I don't think it'd be as long. It shouldn't be.
Okay, all right, all right.
Because
We'll
my
go that
understanding
route.
was...
We'll go that route then.
And my recommendation is we use the same background questions because there was a litany of things we asked for. Use the same ones.
Same
ones.
Same ones.
But it still has to pass the physical as well, so...
Yeah, who's going to pick? What are we going to get?
We pick it. It's our physician.
Yeah, do we have one?
No.
Who's the director of the ER there? Conway. Have to ask Conway to do it.
Or he can get somebody to do it for us.
I can do it.
I don't think. You told me you were a proctologist.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I thought it was a vet.
No, he told me he was a proctologist.
All right, moving right along. Thank you, and everybody, thank you for coming out. It warms my heart to see this much participation in this, and it's important for the town. I appreciate all that turned out. Thank you very much.
I think the committee...
So, one question. Do you know an approximate timeframe of how long?
Maybe Thursday?
Oh, what do you mean for the...
Before he would officially start?
It'll be a while.
Just so we all have
It takes a while.
Yeah.
months?
The chairman will call him tonight and let him know.
Okay.
And we have to meet with him to negotiate an agreement.
And he said he wanted to
Got to give notice.
Belchertown proper notice.
For the time being, who we're going to relate to for questions, for department-wise?
Yeah, we have another piece of paper here. It's,
we have a
Bill
deputy.
Khalid.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Chief Khalid was here last week, and I believe there was two, were they captains or deputies he appointed? One for EMS and one for fire operations. I would assume those are still in place. I haven't heard anything other than that. And then if there's an issue, come to this board or come to the administrator's office and we'll deal with it.
Tell you what, why don't we make it put on the agenda that...
But we also had the offer from the two deputy chiefs from Springfield and Westfield that if need be, and I'm not speaking out of turn, that they volunteered that if there was a need for, I forget, it was administrative.
Yeah.
No, it was operations.
Well, we need, knowing, having been an EMT myself, you need a clear structure, and if it's not, right now it doesn't seem like that's that clear, and it makes it kind of, it makes me a little nervous, so...
The deputies are first line.
Are those two people here, the two deputies?
One, yeah.
Wow. So which deputy, which EMS or fire?
EMS.
EMS, okay. And who's fire?
He's not here.
He's not here tonight.
Okay.
The reason why I asked is because we're in, there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the transition of going paramedic that sometimes I need to relay and ask questions, what we're allowed to purchase and whatnot for.
Why don't we put that, can we put that on hold until the new fire chief?
We're waiting a few weeks before the state comes out for inspection.
Yeah.
We've already got cardiac monitors, the majority of our equipment purchased, our affiliation agreement with the hospital, and it's just just a matter of waiting for the state to say, here you go, here's your license.
All right, go with that, but we need a chain of command that's clear to everybody on the force.
Absolutely, that's what I'm asking for. What do you want us to go with? Because I don't know.
But if it's a-
it could take weeks, months before we get an actual.
It's not gonna be months.
It'll be a few weeks.
But if it's a purchase, they should come here, to us.
No, if it's something for day-to-day operation, you should be able to order it.
Right, but I'm saying he's asking specifically,
We've been given a certain budget of stuff that we can go forward with purchasing for the paramedic stuff, but I'm just saying, in general, you know, Chief Polito's been great as far as just bouncing ideas off of and which direction to go,
and my understanding is he's still going to be available for bouncing ideas.
So any EMS concerns, you're going to handle 24/7, so you're available. And the fire deputy is as well, he knows this 24/7. So if there's a structure fire, we know who to call, and who's going to be on scene, and who's going to direct the scene.
right, I just wanted to clarify that with.
But your concern was about buying things.
Well, we have a budget to work with, I'm just saying,
Okay.
it's in general, the structure of how this stuff's going, I didn't want to make sure there's no.
But all the other EMS structure, the fire stuff, that's all set? Okay.
Well, can I ask a question, Dave? Who's doing payroll right now?
I believe Rich Fasoli will be.
Okay.
And he'll be back.
He's versed in it?
Sometime tonight or tomorrow morning, he should be back in town, he was out on vacation, so.
Now, John, not to put you on the spot, can you help them at all with any budgetary? So John Martin's on finance, this gentleman here.
You can give me a call, give me my number, come on, any special funds.
Okay.
Well, you got Vicky and Donna both are.
Yeah, I mean,
We can work with
this,
them too.
yeah, and if anything, come to us, okay? All right, you know where I live, Russellville Road. Come to my
Call Reggie.
Right.
I think so, yeah.
Very good. Thank you all, I appreciate it, thank
are we
you.
going to do Chief Polito?
Thank you.
And then I have Sue, a personal change form here for William Kalita to retire, effective yesterday,
Wasn't it the 30th?
No.
8/28.
He's on vacation
It's on vacation.
for the rest of the month.
Oh, okay.
So I take a motion to acceptance.
I'm taking a motion to accept his resignation with great regret and appreciation for the difficult job he stepped in and did.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
And there's another piece of paper here. Personal request for another department head who's retiring. I guess we have to post this? Is this for posting of this?
Well, we need to discuss the posting of the highways, and whether we're going to agree to the job description and then post it.
All right, so what do I do with this?
Nothing.
Okay, very good.
But we have a job description here.
Job description we were given last week. We had it in the past. You're supposed to review it and accept it or change it.
Does it have all your duties and you're satisfied with it?
Yeah, I put it together.
Well, then I would suggest that we get it posted sooner rather than later.
I agree.
Motion.
I'll make that motion and we can get that up.
And we have a salary
I know
range.
it takes so much time to work its way through the
Do
system.
you have a salary range based on this and stuff? It's all in there? Salary range and stuff?
I think there was a salary range in it, but I don't think, I haven't seen it.
Question real quick.
Yes.
Ben Rogan, Fire Department, Lebanon Drive. We were outside talking. Did you guys have sign the paperwork for the alcohol permit for the pavilion for the fire?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, awesome.
We haven't got that for yet.
I didn't get an invite, so.
The wheels grind ever so slowly.
We get stalled. It's a bunch of paper here and I tend to pick things up. What's next? That's all right.
So there's your,
Thank you.
Are you running this year again?
what was that, sir?
Are you in charge of the food this year?
I'm the Redneck Roasters.
Redneck Roasters, very good. Let's just do that, we'll come back to Ed.
I thought you were gonna.
All right, so I have
Oh, God. You have to recover from the last serving there.
We have a one-day alcohol license permit. The name of the group is the Southampton Firefighters Association Incorporated. It's a beer and wine license for September 7th, 2013, to 8 p.m., Conant Park Pavilion, East Street, for their annual pig roast. Anticipated number of attendees, 200. Name of bartenders. We're not having...
What?
It's BYOB.
Oh,
it's BYOB.
Sign up bar.
We're not selling any alcohol, it's just for people to bring alcohol to consume.
Right.
And just beer and wine. Never had
No scotch?
So experience in bartending, we don't have. Certified bartenders, no. we have the license, and we have the hold harmless agreement, right? And you're an incorporated association, so.
No fee, right?
Hey, do I have a motion to
There's no
approve? To sign, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And do we have invites?
Yes.
Are the police going?
You didn't take a vote, but I'll say all in favor.
In situations like that, they supposed to have police there?
Should, nobody else.
I mean, should we be discussing that, or?
But it's playing the odds right now. You're playing the odds that nothing's going to happen. Your house doesn't burn down.
Not funny.
You're playing the odds, but it won't. And also that day, you're playing on September 7th, and it doesn't burn down because there's going to be nobody to respond.
Yeah, right. I didn't want to know. I don't even do that. I am crazy.
So back to Ed,
I
so,
move to post the job description, even if the salary's not there, we can put that in later.
I think it's up to 70,000. That's my guess.
do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Who's gonna let Reggie know? Yes, sir?
I'll try and talk to her tomorrow.
Please.
I got a text from her at one point in time.
Tomorrow, what's tomorrow,
Are
Friday?
you, can you talk to her? I should
What
not.
is today? She's not working tomorrow.
She's not working tomorrow?
What, she's supposed to work tomorrow?
She's supposed to let me know, how come she didn't let me know?
Is she working tomorrow?
Yeah,
She worked Friday.
Did she work today?
tonight, as far as I know, she didn't send me.
No, she must have worked today, but she's not working tonight, yeah. All right, so tomorrow.
So I'll
We're
put
gonna
it,
give this to Reggie, all these notes.
This is just what I wrote down, what I thought about those people. That's all I
so that's taken care of. I think we're done. We'll take a motion.
No, you're not.
No, we're not.
All right, so,
Talk about,
so we,
And she's here tomorrow, I will get everything in the morning.
all right, thank you. I put everything back in here, so everything's in this folder. So it looks like our candidate for the town administrator has declined after negotiations were started on his contract to accept the position. So currently, we do not have a candidate for the town administrator position. So, I open it up to any comments. Do you want to go down the list and call the next people on the list and see if they're still interested?
We had kind of formalized the first, second, and third, hadn't we? What's his name? Mr. Klinman? No.
No.
Manzi took a job in Saybrook.
In Old Saybrook?
Saybrook.
Oh, Saybrook.
Are we supposed to repost this?
I don't think we have a choice.
What's the rule? What's the law?
No, we can do what we want, but I think we should repost it. I think we should advertise again and start it all over again. And, I mean, it's just an open discussion, and I don't know if John wants to continue with the committee, and
I think we should repost it, but let us do a fast track process so we don't have to go back and forth a lot.
well, does that mean that you will take over posting the job based on what we've already accepted?
Can I ask one question? And I know it's going to be the volatile question. Can we change a requirement in it?
Like what?
One.
Educational?
To what?
Minimum of a bachelor's degree?
I think that would be appropriate.
I don't disagree.
I agree with that.
It's fine.
Do I have a motion?
Job description with a bachelor's minimum.
Do I have a motion for that from the board?
I make a motion that on the reposting of the town administrator position is a minimum of a 4-year degree, a bachelor's or a bachelor of science degree.
Do you have a second?
You want to limit it to bachelor of science? Or
Bachelor of science.
Bachelor's, how about a bachelor's?
Bachelor's degree
Of some sort.
of some sort. And do I have a second?
Relevant bachelor's degree.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we going to use the same screening committee? Are those people willing to be on that committee
The
again?
question is, I think 4 of us are here, so I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with
It's,
it.
Chief Sylvan was on it as well. I don't know.
And Jackie was too, though.
Yeah. So if you could reconstitute and...
Oh, Jackie, are you in?
You know, I've got so much going on. I have 2 other programs that I'm working on, and I'm just working, and I'm really busy right now. But I think you guys did a great job, and you'll do it again.
Do we want to take somebody else on it? Vicki?
I would recommend possibly
Bill Barkham.
Jim Claremont, who was the chair of the fire chief screening committee, was excellent.
Well, if you can get him, that'd be great.
I did talk to Jimmy, he asked me about that, and
I thought, and he was one of the 2 that came
the night of the town administrator interviews and ask questions. And, but he was, you know, it was great working with him on the committee for the fire chief, and I think
If
he's
the
willing
board's-
to, that he would be good.
If Donna could check with him if he so wants it, please, we'll put him on it.
Yeah.
When you did that the first time, did you use the same, like, scoring system that you did for the fire chief? Did you?
No, because we had two different chairs.
Is there any way to use that, because it seemed like that system worked well?
Yeah, they did a great job.
Much different, but.
Oh, okay.
We use the,
MMA.
Did you, John, did you see it, the fire chief?
I did not.
Oh, they did a great
No, we'll
job.
have to look at both of them, that's fine, I think.
Yeah. So how many people is that now that's on it?
Well,
You should
my
check
question
with
was, I'll contact Chief Silvernail. If he's in, great. If he's not, should the committee ask somebody else? And do you have any thoughts, or do you want to leave it up to the committee?
I think,
What about Liz, are you interested?
So I'm going to, I would say that I'm interested, although very busy with lots of things, but I'm sure that I could make some time to be on that if the chief does. It was. So I'm just thinking like soccer, BMX. Okay, so that's not going to happen.
But I mean,
But-
how about a retired former fire chief?
But.
but this one shouldn't be as...
No, it shouldn't be as long.
Well, if you allow us to do the whole process, compact it, and that way we don't have to
Yeah.
stretch it out, that would be fine.
Vicky might be interested, I don't know how busy she is.
Well, let's clarify
Let's ask.
that.
First we
You're
have
going to
to-
advertise for the position.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I'll get the job
You have the job description out there. You're going to accept the applications?
Yeah, I think they should go directly to me that way, because they went to you, and we had time to come back to us, so we bring it right to the
Bring it to
committee.
you.
Can we just streamline it so the committee calls and makes the interviews and the committee, and this is where it is?
No, does the board want 3 candidates?
I think that seems to be working well.
Yeah. I tell you what, why don't you just get that going, John, and we can fill in the committee as we go.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that, David. I think you gotta, if you're gonna have a committee... You should do it.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna know, I mean, we're gonna wait.
I'll move to put Liz on the committee.
Well, if the chief does not, if Chief Silvernail does not want to be on the committee,
But I think it's Chief Silvernail and somebody.
No, Palermo.
Palermo's, we're going to do.
was going to take over for
Okay.
Jackie.
Oh, okay.
So if the chief,
Call me, we'll talk.
okay, I'm just thinking like there's BMX and soccer and
Yeah, you've got
and this, but I do get out of work at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, so.
The only time we've ever really met early was 6 o'clock at night.
Oh, then if the chief says no, then please call me.
Okay.
All right.
My number, every phone number here.
I'm wondering if we should just take a vote to reconstitute the committee, just since
Yes.
it probably...
We never disbanded it.
203 1913
Capacity was ended.
Okay, that's fine.
1913.
Well, I'll take a motion as such.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To reconstitute the
So,
committee.
is it okay to work with Reggie to get the posting in the paper and all?
Yeah, please,
And I'll get
please.
the actual
Please.
document from her?
Could, one thing I would recommend to the board, Mike, to save time, could we do a background check of our top 3 candidates in the process of us making our
Yeah, I don't know why we
determination?
couldn't do that, but the expense of it is the only
It's
question.
like $450 a piece, but I think it's important that we have that background check, because we might have a 4th candidate who move up.
Yeah, no, you're right, and you might have a top candidate that kicks out because of the back, I think you're right.
We need to do background checks on 3 fire candidates, right?
We're gonna do that, and we're gonna do court.
So you want to do it before the fact?
Just on
Yeah.
one, just on one candidate, and the fire chief.
Yeah, we're just doing one we're offering. But
Yeah.
you're, but
This one here, the 3 candidates are
your
bringing
top 3 candidates, you guys table.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right, so if we just they just get one, they
Yeah,
only
but
do
if
three.
you do one, and they gotta bring 3 to us.
Right,
so
we
he's-
pick one, and then they do the background check
No,
for
no,
just
they're-
one.
Well, it's saying
All 3 do this before they come.
Do all 3, so the process is done, but in case somebody's bad, they can
Yeah.
kick them out and bring one up, that's all.
I was just trying to save
I
money.
know the people that control the reserve fund, so I think.
Yeah, I think you got an in with a
That's
pocketbook.
right.
Yeah, not only 34,000.
I have one more issue.
John, just one thing is,
I have to be able
one
to.
thing that we didn't do
I have a swimming pool that needs to be backwards.
Yeah, certified we had lock cabinets.
I was going to if I got home early.
Shredder.
Tonight.
I could do this one morning.
They had it certified before they could start the process. You can ask Reggie about that when you talk to her.
And Vicky about her pay, and she wrote an email that said...
Yeah, no, the administrator. It took us 2 extra weeks because they had to come in and certify that we had a shredding machine, lock doors, and a lock cabinet for information related to it.
No.
Pyrite?
I might go back and read my...
Okay.
I get so many emails.
I know.
I just...
Well, when I saw official...
But that's already done, so that should be...
It was sometime last week, or the beginning of this week, and it had spreadsheets and numbers and...
Oh, I probably looked complicated.
I'm just wondering, how do you deal with that? And how long?
We never did do it before. But so that was directed to all of us. She should...
We're talking about.
But she's...
Mike, what's going on?
Oh, I know.
Changes without coming in front of us, and that's why we do the policy thing that I keep talking about.
Liz had a question about the letter, and I have to say I didn't read it probably. What letter? Reggie indicating a formal complaint
To the board.
to the board.
Right, so what do you do when there's a...
What do you mean? What email was
Well,
that?
I mean, did he say formal complaint?
Yes,
Or it was
and that's the only reason I'm asking, because it says I'd like to...
Well, stop, time out. There was an email.
You.
From who to what?
Between Reggie and Vicky
Okay.
regarding Reggie's pay.
Okay.
She thinks she's being shorted.
Okay.
Vicky has given her analysis of and why she's paid one way, and Reggie has given back why she thinks she should be paid another way. It's
Okay.
gone back and forth, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. And now that last email was
From who to who?
from Reggie to Vicky and us. I would like to make this a formal complaint
Complaint of what?
of her pay.
So, she hasn't said anything to me as chair.
She is now, with that formal complaint. She sent it to you too, right?
She hasn't, why doesn't she just call me?
Well, because I think she wanted to put it in the
She
form.
calls, she has my cell phone. Why does it have to go like this ping pong?
My question is, what is I don't want to push it under the rug, given the fact that there's so much animosity in the building to begin with. I would prefer to just handle it and move on.
I think he asked both of them to come to a meeting and explain their positions. In light of the complaint, that would be my impression, is have both of them come, present their positions.
But are we in a position to know who's right and wrong?
No, but I think that both parties have created this, there's a paper that states why Vicky does it this way, and there's a paper that says why Reggie does it this way. And so if...
Sorry.
No, that's okay. If there's somebody, us, to kind of make that answer and end the email trail.
Did anybody get the memo
My
today?
feeling, I think the chairman should go in and at least talk to 2 of them before we bring it here.
That's a better idea.
No, I'm not doing it by myself anymore.
Well, no, I'm going back to the policies again on establishing a new policy.
I'm not sure that it's about a policy, though, it's about a dollar amount.
Jackie, it's not a new policy, we're just stick to this. I'm not gonna just time out. I'm not gonna do what I just tried to do with Sylvan Hill and I'm not gonna do that anymore by myself. If there is a complaint, it's here, in the open, and you're all involved. I'm not doing it by myself anymore.
Right, you shouldn't have to.
So they will be on the agenda, they'll both be on the agenda, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna come to an end of it.
Right.
Okay? Period.
Makes sense. But I'm trying to say, Vicky has made she's deemed another way of paying somebody, and she's not just Reggie, it's other people too. And so, in order for those policies to change, it has to come to us first, we review it, and then say, okay, yeah, you can do that. But the other system that was being used has been for years, and now something's changing, and it's up to us to deem that, possible. Because if everybody in every single department just says one day they want to do this or that, and everybody used to...
I mean, I can't speak for any of the parties, but Dave wants to bring them in here and talk about it,
Right.
bring them about it. But here's the other thing too is, I'm not an accountant, I know what's accepted by DOR and stuff like that. So you need a third party in here to say who's right and who's wrong? Because I don't think this board can say who's right and who's wrong because we're not familiar with what the process is and what's acceptable in municipal government.
But I think you got to hear the complaint.
Right.
No, I have no problem hearing the complaint, but I don't think you can get it resolved.
Well, you may
I
not
think
do
that this can be resolved. This is a matter of dollars and cents. So there's a specific formula to figure out how somebody gets paid. So all we need is an explanation to a party, and I think that the problem will be solved. Right. And that should be done here.
In that same line, did you see the memo that came out today? And I have a problem that I have to resolve, that I'm on the Personnel Policy Board and I'm not getting notice of meetings.
I'm not anymore.
No, I know, but I'm not, I don't know how, suddenly I wake up and find out, I haven't been to a meeting in a long time and I'm not getting notices at all of the meetings. But something came out today from Personnel Policy.
Oh, I got copies of it.
It's indicating that the personnel manual that we're using is not the right one, that it was never properly
Well, what
adopted.
my email said, it's a wrong format?
It's the wrong one, I thought it read.
Well,
Different version.
Different
version was reformatted. I don't know. I mean,
So I got a different version. I assumed that there was...
the one that's
inconsistent.
approved is the one that was, I think was done by your brother-in-law. That was the last one we approved. And the only amendments we had to it were working from home, that was a no-no. Snow closing policy was another one, and the meal policy.
And not paying women that are pregnant. Vacation.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that's the other one.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that's what.
It might be pending, but I've never
They're
heard
trying
of
to
it.
do that so that if you
Okay, but
have-
that's not what was passed. I'm talking about the three things that passed.
But the other not disturbing, but the other thing is, it came out on a letter from Personnel Policy where my name appeared.
Oh.
And I haven't...
You're in the committee?
I'm on the committee, but I wasn't there.
Well, they should tell you that.
You know, first of all, I should be notified of the meetings.
And don't look at me, I'm not
I'm not looking at you, I'm just saying, I don't get notified, and then a letter comes out that makes it look like I was there to vote on this.
Well, were you, Mike?
No.
Okay.
So does Reggie see, like, how is she going to know that these things need to go on the agenda?
Jackie's going to call her tomorrow.
And so she needs to know that we need to put her and Vicki on the agenda. We need to put this policy and procedure situation on the agenda, and then let's move on from it and get
Policy
it off.
procedures is not that easy, it has to have a hearing.
No, but which one, shouldn't we have a meeting to decide which one is the right one?
And then have a hearing.
And then have a hearing to correct it?
And I also saw that they had made a decision on both those part-time benefit clauses in that book, and they both contradict each other.
So we need to get them in here, right? Is that how this
Yeah.
goes? So we can
We
fix
should
it?
have at least a working meeting with them, yes.
Because this list of stuff on, like, that discussion list, can't we start getting some of that off?
Thank you.
I hate lists.
I know, I've been
I like to
trying for
cross.
so long.
So let's make a summary of what was, since Reggie's not here.
Ready, go.
You're gonna ask to have the Personnel Policy Board come here?
Yeah, but I don't think we want them all on the same night.
No, but
I mean, this is going on.
subject to availability on the agenda, we want
That's
Personnel Policy.
probably the next month.
Right. We asked Charlie to come back, Charlie Kinnicky, to come back.
He's not coming back until after September.
Sometime in September.
September 10th,
But
he's
what did
coming
we ask him
back.
to come back for, I forget.
To have him give us...
Update on
The report
What-
from
what our
Charlie.
decision-
what our decision is gonna be.
Which is not our decision.
What was the other thing I just said?
To Reggie for...
Vicki and Reggie.
Reggie, the payroll issue. Gotta be dealt with.
Oh, and to post the
The highway superintendent.
highway superintendent position. That was the one I couldn't come back with.
That's all right.
Well, John was going to tell her that as well, so.
No, John's going to tell her about the town administrator.
Sorry.
That's it. We advertise that.
The department had meetings.
But we got to take care of your position.
Yes. And I'll be giving my notice next week after I meet the retirement board.
But we need to form a committee to decide on.
Yeah, you gotta do something. I mean, they notified me today that I wanted to leave November 13th. They're telling me it might be the second week of December right now. And that's the extent.
But it's sometime between now and January 1.
Well, I want to leave November 30th, but I have no problem sticking around to help people out and coming in for special issues and stuff like that. But
If we run into the situation that we are with the fire chief now, where he had to appoint somebody to be in charge, is that something that you can do if we're not at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
How many people do we need on a committee, and how are we going to form that committee?
Well,
you want construction people, which makes sense.
well, on the committee, I want somebody with some construction background or highway background.
Tom Wiley.
He offered to be on the committee if it was established.
Bruce Coombs.
I think Bruce Coombs would be another one.
Barry Swanson.
But you should advertise it. You shouldn't be putting their Coombs Club in there.
Yeah, and the problem with that, when you're naming those names, is we get into conflict of interest.
I know them all, and that's why I'm saying you should.
No, but I'm saying they have problems because they're going to be hiring the man that they work for eventually.
Correct. And it could be.
It's conflict of interest.
So they may not.
My feeling is.
Yeah, I just saying.
No, I know, but I'm saying.
So those people like come to mind that have that experience.
Right, but I'm just saying it gets to be a problem.
I mean, the other thing too is the five of us handle it, but I don't know if the five of us want to handle it. Time is of the essence, but I don't want to be here in January and February. My intent was not to be here during the winter. I did 31 years in plowing snow.
You're going to miss the snow?
Yeah.
So can't we just have, if you had, you want somebody with some construction experience, someone with some highway
No,
experience, and then you put that list out and advertise it, but you can't work here?
The job description, the ideal candidate would be someone with a 4th-degree in engineering or related field. And related field would be Department of Environmental Affairs, something to do with construction, and it also says experience and job experience can be substituted for, education. So you're going to get people. I've been called by several people from Springfield, Chicopee. There are people interested in the job.
Would it be good enough to have you be the initial screening committee and then have pass down the ones you think are appropriate to us?
And that's one way of doing it. That's the way John Garska did it for me. But I would like to have somebody else to say, Ed, look at this. All right. If I can get one other person.
I could do it.
One other person to screen them out, and then we'll give them to the board.
Yeah.
That's what we're streamlining. And I'll also tell you, if we don't have the right candidates, we need to reapply.
Right. No. We need to.
When they hired me, I'm going to tell you the history. There was a 3rd round. They put John Garska on hold for almost a year and a half to retire. He had his retirement party. He was still working a year later. All right. And then I was not the first choice. They hired a guy in Gardner who was going to come here and sleep on weekends and be here. And that wasn't working out because he was using it to make more money in Gardner. So I ended up being the 2nd choice.
And how lucky we are.
You are lucky. You're probably not. But John did screen him and that, and the selectmen.
This is a guy I anticipate we would be hopefully somebody a second.
From what it's worth, there's been a couple of people from the department that have. Don't be surprised if somebody from within put it down.
Nothing wrong with that either.
And there's other people in town that have that sort of concern.
But I'm assuming we're going to get somebody like from Springfield, Westfield or something who's an assistant, long-term assistant.
And
or water.
Doesn't see the movement up the ladder.
Right, or somebody who Springfield, the water superintendent. Maybe.
Or you might see somebody from one of the surrounding towns that, it's more advantageous financially for them.
Right.
You won't have a lack of applicants. But if you want to do it that way, I will do it with Liz and.
I move that's how we do the initial screening of the highway superintendent.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Fair?
I got out of it with no work.
All those in favor?
That's because you're the senior. Aye.
Well, one
Not gonna
lady's
do
right.
it.
I'm not the senior, but.
I didn't say that.
All in favor, say aye.
That lasts 3 times.
All right, move to adjourn. Is that it?
So moved.
I think so.
What do I do with this stuff?
Under the door. Right?
Don't forget your...
Oh, yeah.
I already put mine away.
Thank you.
I got one, this is 13 now.
Next time.
13?
Just like to cross things off.
You wore a highway shirt there when you went there.
I don't think just go.
You got it signed by the cops on duty in the middle of the town.
This is from Alaska.
Like, let's have a
This is Alaska.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's in Sturgis.
Doesn't it say Alaska? to say, Alaska?